You found the Stealth Podcast. Tonight, we'll travel through dark and lonely stories. Where in the world are you watching from? What time is it there? Subscribe and leave your like to support us. Let's begin. My name is Ethan Blackwood. I'm 32 years old, and I call Seattle home, at least officially. 3 months ago, I traded my overpriced apartment for a meticulously converted Sprinter van, chasing that freedom everyone on Instagram makes look so damn perfect. My remote job as a software developer made the transition easy, but nothing prepared me for what happened when I crossed into Oregon last week. I'd spent days meandering down the coast, catching sunsets at beach pullouts, and working from picturesque cafes. The van, my pride and joy, was a masterpiece of efficiency. Solar panels, a hidden composting toilet, custom cabinetry, and a queen-size platform bed that converted to a workspace during the day. Living small had been liberating until it became my prison. The coastal weather turned nasty that afternoon, sheets of rain hammering my roof as I navigated the winding roads inland. Cell service became spotty, and my GPS kept rerouting me through increasingly remote stretches of forest. As dusk approached, fatigue set in. I needed somewhere to park for the night, somewhere quiet where I wouldn't be hassled. That's when I spotted the turnoff, a narrow gravel road with no signage except a faded wooden board with what looked like the name of a defunct logging company. Perfect. These back roads were Vanlife gold, secluded, peaceful, and free. I followed the bumpy path for about a mile before finding a small clearing that would work nicely. The rain had tapered to a drizzle as I pulled in and killed the engine. Through the trees, I could make out the faint glow of what might be a small town or homestead in the valley below. I hadn't realized anyone lived this close, but it was far enough away that they wouldn't notice me. I went through my evening routine, windows cracked for ventilation, blackout curtains secured, dinner heated on my little propane stove. Just as I finished washing my dishes with my limited water supply, headlights swept across my curtains. My heart jumped. Nobody should be back here this late. I froze, listening to the crunch of tires on gravel, then the distinctive sound of a truck engine idling nearby. The polite thing would be to peek out, maybe wave to show I wasn't up to anything suspicious, but something kept me hidden. A flashlight beam probed the exterior of my van, lingering on the license plates. I heard voices, 2 men, their words indistinct, but their tone unmistakably hostile. "Outsider," I thought I heard one say. The beam disappeared, but the truck didn't move. Instead, I heard the sound of doors opening, boots on gravel. "We see you in there," a gruff voice called out. "This ain't a campground. You picked the wrong place to park tonight, city boy." The voice held no warmth, no welcome, just a territorial warning that sent ice through my veins. I remained silent, hoping they'd think I was asleep or perhaps that they'd made a mistake. A sharp knock rattled my side door. "Last chance to come out and explain yourself before we take matters into our own hands." The second voice was younger, but equally unwelcoming. I weighed my options, confront them and risk escalation, or stay silent and hope they'd leave. Neither seemed promising as I heard the unmistakable sound of a shotgun being racked outside my thin metal walls. I decided to face them. Staying silent would only make things worse. "I'm coming out," I called, my voice steadier than I felt. "I'm just a traveler looking for a spot to sleep." I slid open the door to find myself staring down the barrel of a shotgun held by a weathered man in his 60s, his face half hidden beneath a stained trucker cap. Beside him stood a younger man, maybe mid-20s, with the same sunken eyes and distrust etched into his features. "This is private property," the older man growled. "Tillamook Forest's got designated camping areas. This ain't one of them." His flashlight blinded me as he swept it across my interior, pausing on my laptop and equipment. "What are you really doing out here? Surveying? Working for one of them tech companies trying to buy up the valley?" I raised my hand slightly, heart hammering against my ribs. "No sir, nothing like that. I'm just passing through. Didn't realize this was private land. I can leave right now." The younger man circled my van, running his hand along the exterior like he was appraising it. Something about his methodical examination disturbed me more than the shotgun. "License and registration," the older man demanded. I complied, retrieving my wallet with trembling fingers. As he examined my Washington license, his expression darkened. "Seattle, huh? Figures. You people been flooding down here. driving up prices, looking down your noses at locals. He handed back my ID. Pack up and follow us out. And don't even think about coming back this way. Relief flooded through me as I started the engine. The ordeal was ending, or so I thought. As I followed their pickup down the winding road, I noticed we weren't heading back to the main highway. Instead, they turned onto an even narrower path, deeper into the forest. Alarm bells screamed in my head. I slowed, considering turning around, when the truck behind me flashed its high beams. I hadn't even noticed the second vehicle tailing me. Through the trees, I caught glimpses of ramshackle buildings, some kind of settlement hidden away from civilization. My GPS showed nothing but woodland here, no marked roads or structures. The convoy halted in what appeared to be the center of a small, isolated community. Dim lights revealed weathered cabins and suspicious faces peering from windows. This wasn't just private property, it was a whole hidden world. Out of the van, the older man commanded as more locals emerged from the shadows. I counted at least a dozen now, some holding rifles, others clutching tools that could easily become weapons. Town meeting's about to start, he announced with a twisted smile. And you're the guest of honor. They escorted me to a rundown building that might have once been a general store. Inside, kerosene lamps cast long shadows across worn wooden floors and suspicious faces. An elderly woman, bent with age but sharp-eyed, looked me up and down. Another one, she muttered. Third this month. They're getting closer. Her words sent a chill through me. Third what this month? What happened to the others? I scanned the room for possible exits while trying to appear calm. There's been a misunderstanding, I started, but was cut off by the slamming of the door behind me. The gathering crowd formed a tight circle, and I realized with growing horror that these weren't just territorial locals. There was something profoundly wrong with this isolated community, something that went beyond simple distrust of outsiders. The makeshift town hall fell silent as a tall, gaunt man entered. Unlike the others in their practical, weathered clothing, he wore a formal black suit that hung loosely on his frame, as if he'd been wasting away inside it. His presence commanded immediate respect, or fear, from the gathered crowd. His sunken eyes fixed on me with disturbing intensity. I'm Reverend Marsh, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle for such an imposing figure. You've trespassed on our sanctuary, mister. He glanced at my ID, which someone had handed him. Blackwood. In ordinary times, we might simply turn you away with a warning. But these are not ordinary times. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. The Reverend approached slowly, studying me like a curious specimen. The forest has been changing. Strange lights in the sky, wildlife behaving oddly. And then the disappearances started. His bony finger jabbed toward my chest. Always after outsiders like you come snooping around. Always after someone brings something foreign into our valley. My mouth went dry. I don't know anything about disappearances. I was just looking for a place to sleep. My eyes darted around the room, noting how some residents bore unusual markings on their hands. Dark, symmetrical patterns that looked almost like burns. Others had the same glazed look in their eyes, as if part of them wasn't fully present. Search his vehicle, Reverend Marsh ordered, and several men immediately left the building. I protested, but strong hands held me in place. The Reverend continued his unsettling monologue about the community's history, how they'd settled here generations ago to escape the corruption of the outside world, how they'd lived in harmony with the forest until recently. When the search party returned, they carried several of my possessions, my laptop, phone, a small meteorite paperweight I'd bought at a science museum years ago, and oddly, my collection of hiking maps. The Reverend examined each item carefully before holding up the meteorite. Where did you get this? He demanded, his calm facade cracking. It's just a souvenir, I explained, confusion mixing with fear. From a museum in Seattle. It's not even real, probably just painted concrete. But the Reverend's expression suggested he believed otherwise. He wrapped the small rock in a cloth with surprising care, then handed it to the elderly woman. The signs were clear, he announced to the room. The stranger brings the stone from the sky. The cycle begins again. The crowd's reaction was immediate. Some wailed in distress, while others nodded grimly, as if confirming a long-held prophecy. I felt like I'd stumbled into a nightmare, unable to grasp the rules or logic governing these people's fears. A young woman pushed through the crowd, the first person I'd seen who looked as terrified as I felt. Father, Please, she addressed the Reverend. This is madness. Like last time and the time before. These signs are just coincidences you're twisting to fit your visions. Her bravery was met with hisses and murmurs of heretic from the crowd. The Reverend's face hardened at this challenge. Something crashed against the building's exterior, so violent the entire structure shook. The kerosene lamps swayed dangerously, plunging the room into momentary darkness. When light returned, the atmosphere had changed. Panic replaced ceremony. It's starting, someone whispered. Another crash, followed by an inhuman howl that raised the hair on my neck. Whatever was outside wasn't human, and it wanted in. Chaos erupted in the small building. People scrambled in all directions, some barricading the doors and windows, others grabbing weapons or huddling in corners, muttering prayers. Through a gap in the hastily drawn curtains, I caught a glimpse of something moving outside. A dark, massive shape lumbering between buildings, too large and wrongly proportioned to be a bear or any animal I recognized. The Reverend seized my arm with surprising strength. "You've brought this upon us," he hissed, his breath hot against my face. "The Guardian has awakened because of you, because of what you carried." Before I could respond, the rebellious young woman who had spoken earlier appeared at my side, clutching a set of keys. "This way," she whispered urgently. While they're distracted, she pulled me toward a back door I hadn't noticed before. Outside, the night air carried an acrid smell, like burned metal and rotting vegetation combined. We crouched behind stacked firewood as strange shadows moved across the compound. "I'm Eliza," she said breathlessly. "The Reverend's daughter, though I wish I weren't." We made a break for the tree line, running doubled over to stay hidden. Behind us, screams and gunshots echoed from the settlement. "They'll sacrifice you if they catch you," Eliza explained as we pushed deeper into the forest. "They believe your death will appease the Guardian and save their souls. It's what they did to the others." My lungs burned as we ran, branches whipping at my face. "What is that thing back there?" I gasped. Eliza's expression darkened. "Something that should have stayed buried. The valley has secrets, old things in the caves beneath us. My father found journals from the original settlers describing rituals they performed. He became obsessed, convinced he could control whatever lives down there." A bone-chilling howl cut through the night, closer than before. "It's tracking us," Eliza whispered. We increased our pace, but the forest grew denser, the ground more treacherous. I realized Eliza was leading us toward a specific destination, not just away from the settlement. "There's an old fire lookout tower about 2 miles ahead," she explained between labored breaths. "If we can reach it, there's a radio. Not much range, but enough to call for help." The sound of pursuit grew behind us. Not just the creature, but human voices too. The community was hunting us. We splashed across a shallow stream, hoping to throw off our trackers. The moonlight filtering through the canopy revealed Eliza's arm, marked with the same strange patterns I'd noticed on some community members. She caught me staring and pulled her sleeve down. "Not everyone takes the mark willingly," she said grimly. We reached a steep incline and began to climb, using exposed roots and rocks as handholds. Near the top, Eliza slipped, crying out as she slid several feet before I caught her arm. The sound echoed through the forest, and moments later answering calls came from multiple directions. They had us surrounded. The lookout tower came into view, a skeletal structure silhouetted against the night sky. So close, yet impossibly far with our pursuers closing in. Eliza pulled me into a hollow beneath a fallen tree. "There's something I need to tell you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "That meteorite you had, it's not just a souvenir. Similar objects have fallen here for generations. They change things, the land, the animals, the people. My father believes they're messages, but I think there's something else. Something worse." From our hiding place, we watched as flashlight beams crisscrossed the forest floor. The hunt was closing in, but what chilled my blood was the massive shadow moving silently between the trees, a creature that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, with too many limbs moving in impossible ways. And it was heading straight for the lookout tower, cutting off our escape route. Dawn was breaking by the time we reached the base of the lookout tower, having circled wide to avoid both the searchers and whatever that thing was. The structure looked even more decrepit in the gray morning light, rotting steps, rusted metal, windows broken long ago. But it represented our only hope. "We need to hurry," Eliza urged, her face pale with exhaustion. The Guardian retreats during daylight, but my father and the others won't stop searching. We began the climb, testing each step before committing our weight. Halfway up, a step gave way beneath my foot, sending a shower of rotten wood to the ground below. I clung to the railing, heart pounding, before continuing the ascent. The lookout room was small, dominated by an old desk covered in dust and animal droppings. The radio equipment looked ancient, a large metal box with dials and switches that belonged in a museum. Eliza immediately set to work, connecting wires and adjusting settings with practiced hands. My grandfather was the last fire watcher here, she explained. He taught me how to use this before he disappeared. While she worked, I kept watch through the panoramic windows. The forest stretched in every direction, morning mist clinging to the treetops. In the distance, I spotted movement, figures combing the underbrush methodically. They would reach us soon. The radio emitted bursts of static as Eliza desperately tried different frequencies. "Come on," she muttered. "Someone has to be listening." A voice suddenly crackled through the speaker, faint but unmistakably human. Eliza's face lit up as she grabbed the microphone. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Eliza Marsh at Whisper Ridge Lookout. We need immediate assistance. Hostile individuals in pursuit." The response was fragmented, breaking up every few words, but the message was clear. Help would take hours to reach us. My attention was drawn to something odd, a pattern in the forest visible only from this height. The trees formed concentric circles around what appeared to be a massive depression in the earth, with the community built along its edge. It looked almost like an impact crater. Everything clicked into horrifying place. "The meteorites," I breathed. "They're not random. Something's been crashing here for generations." Eliza nodded grimly. "The Guardian isn't some forest spirit like my father believes. It's something else. Something that arrived long ago and has been calling more of its kind." She pulled an old journal from inside her jacket. "My grandfather documented everything before they silenced him. The meteorites are like seeds, and whatever grows from them needs hosts." A gunshot rang out, the bullet splintering the wooden frame inches from my head. Below, the Reverend and his followers had arrived, spreading out to surround the tower. "Eliza," he called up, his voice carrying clearly in the morning air. "Return what belongs to the forest, and you'll be forgiven." Another shot, deliberately missing, a warning. "We're trapped," I whispered. The radio crackled again. Help was coming, but too late. Eliza's expression hardened as she reached into her pocket and pulled out my meteorite paperweight. In the daylight, I could see it wasn't the painted concrete I'd believed. Strange markings covered its surface, faintly luminescent. "I need to tell you the truth," she said, voice trembling. "When they searched your van, they found nothing unusual. This," she held up the stone, "is from here. I planted it among your belongings. I needed someone to blame, someone to distract my father while I escaped. I'm sorry." The betrayal hit like a physical blow, leaving me speechless as shouts from below grew louder. The tower suddenly shuddered, the entire structure tilting slightly. Not from gunfire. Something was climbing up, something heavy enough to bend metal supports. Daylight or not, the Guardian had found us. Eliza's eyes widened in terror. "That's impossible. It never comes out in daylight." But the evidence was undeniable as massive, distorted limbs became visible through the floorboards. In that moment of desperation, I made a fatal mistake. I grabbed the meteorite from Eliza's hand and hurled it through the broken window, hoping to distract whatever was climbing toward us. The stone arced through the air, glinting in the sunlight before disappearing into the forest below. A moment of complete silence followed. No shouts, no movement, as if the entire world held its breath. Then came the response, not from the creature or the Reverend, but from the stone itself. Where it had landed, the ground began to glow with an unearthly light that spread outward in pulsing waves. Trees in its path blackened and twisted. The Reverend and his followers stood transfixed, their faces illuminated by the growing radiance. One by one, they dropped to their knees as if in worship. "No," Eliza whispered, backing away from the window. "You've activated it. The beacon is calling them now." The radio burst to life with urgent voices. Reports of unusual atmospheric disturbances, objects entering Earth's atmosphere, trajectories calculating to our exact location. Not just one, dozens. Hundreds. As the tower began to collapse beneath us, I caught a final glimpse of the Reverend looking up, not at us, but at the sky, where the morning blue was interrupted by streaks of fire descending through the atmosphere. His face showed not fear, but a twisted ecstasy. The Guardian, now visible in the daylight, was transforming, its misshapen body opening like a grotesque flower toward the heavens, ready to welcome its kin. In those final moments, as Eliza and I clung to each other in the falling tower, I understood the true horror. We hadn't stumbled upon a backward, paranoid community. We had found the vanguard of an invasion, patient, incremental, centuries in the making, and I had just given the signal for its completion. My simple desire for a quiet night's sleep had doomed not just this hidden valley, but perhaps all of humanity. My name is Mia Delacroix. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Chicago, or at least I did until 6 weeks ago when I decided to embrace the nomadic lifestyle. After getting laid off from my marketing job during company-wide cuts, I took my severance package and invested in a used Ford Transit that I converted myself. The van isn't fancy like those Instagram-worthy tiny homes on wheels, but it's functional, with a simple platform bed, portable cooler, and enough solar power to charge my devices while I figure out my next career move. I'd been making my way west, taking freelance gigs when I could find them, enjoying the freedom of waking up somewhere new every few days. Oregon wasn't initially on my itinerary, but another Vanlifer I met at a rest stop in Idaho couldn't stop raving about the coastal views and the free camping spots tucked away in the national forests. The prospect of ocean air and towering trees was too tempting to pass up. The September weather had been surprisingly cooperative as I crossed into Oregon, sunlight filtering through my windshield as I navigated the winding roads. My Google Maps had been redirecting me through increasingly rural areas after an accident closed part of the main highway. I didn't mind the detour. The scenery was breathtaking, with dense forests giving way to occasional glimpses of farmland nestled in valleys. By late afternoon, I found myself in a tiny town called Harlow Creek. The place looked like it had seen better days, faded storefronts, a single blinking traffic light, and a weathered welcome sign that had clearly been there since before I was born. Still, I needed supplies and figured this might be my last chance before heading deeper into the forest for some off-grid camping. The local market was smaller than I expected, with limited options on dusty shelves. As I gathered some basics, canned soup, granola bars, bottled water, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every aisle I turned down, there seemed to be a local resident suddenly finding something interesting to examine nearby. No one spoke to me directly, but I caught whispered comments and lingering stares. At the checkout, the elderly cashier squinted at me over her glasses. Just passing through? Her tone made it sound less like a question and more like a suggestion. When I mentioned I was planning to camp in the area for a few days, her lips pressed into a thin line. Wouldn't recommend it. Forest Service closed most sites due to fire danger. It was a plausible excuse, but something in her eyes told me she was lying. Back in my van, I checked online for any fire warnings. Nothing. No alerts, no closures, nothing to suggest I shouldn't find a nice spot to park for the night. Still, the encounter left me uneasy. As I pulled away from the market, I noticed a dusty pickup truck fall into place behind me, maintaining the same distance no matter how I varied my speed. The sun was setting as I reached the forest edge, casting long shadows across the road. My plan had been to find a secluded fire road to park on, standard stealth camping procedure, but the persistent truck behind me changed the equation. I made a sudden decision to turn onto a narrow dirt track, hoping to lose my tail or at least confirm my paranoia was unfounded. The truck followed without hesitation, closing the distance between us. My heart pounded as I accelerated down the rough dirt road, the van bouncing violently over ruts and rocks. The pickup stayed with me, its headlights now flashing in an obvious demand for me to stop. This was no coincidence. They were deliberately following me. After a mile of this terrifying chase, the road widened into a small clearing, and I realized I had nowhere else to go. The path ahead narrowed to a hiking trail, impossible for my vehicle to navigate. With no choice left, I stopped the van but kept the engine running, ready to attempt a desperate three-point turn if needed. The pickup pulled alongside me, and two men stepped out, one middle-aged with a salt and pepper beard, the other younger, maybe in his early 20s. Both wore work clothes with the logo of a local timber company. "You lost, miss," the older man called out, approaching my driver's side window, which I'd lowered just an inch. His tone was friendly enough, but there was something calculated in his expression that kept me on edge. "Just looking for a place to camp," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll head back to the main road if this is private property." "Oh, it's not exactly private," he said, exchanging a look with his younger companion. "But it's not safe either. These woods have a history that tourists don't understand." He rested his hand on my door, fingers tapping against the metal. "There's a proper campground about 20 miles back toward the highway. Joe here can lead you there." Their concerns seemed genuine, but something felt off. Why follow me so aggressively just to offer directions? As I considered my options, a sudden movement caught my eye. A third person watching from the tree line, barely visible in the fading light. When our eyes met, they quickly retreated deeper into the forest. "Thanks for the tip," I said, forcing a smile. "I'll follow you back to the main road." The older man nodded, seemingly satisfied, and they returned to their truck. As we drove back the way we came, I noticed more vehicles parked among the trees, their presence hidden from casual observation. This wasn't random. This was some kind of organized effort to keep people away. Back on the main road, the pickup flashed its lights and turned toward town, while I continued in the opposite direction, allegedly toward this recommended campground. Once they were out of sight, I pulled over to check my maps. The area was riddled with logging roads and Forest Service tracks. Surely I could find somewhere to safely park for just one night without being hassled. About 10 miles further, I spotted an unmarked turnoff that looked promising, overgrown enough to suggest it wasn't frequently used but still passable for my van. I drove in just far enough to be hidden from the road, killed my lights, and set up for the night with a growing sense of unease. The locals' warnings echoed in my mind as I secured my blackout curtains and checked that my doors were locked. Sleep came fitfully, interrupted by every creak and rustle outside. Around midnight, I bolted awake to the sound of voices, distant but distinct. Peering cautiously through a gap in my curtains, I saw flashlight beams moving through the trees, accompanied by the unmistakable noise of people searching systematically. They weren't on the road but spread throughout the forest, calling to each other in low voices. I held my breath as one searcher passed within yards of my van, close enough that I could hear his labored breathing. "Anything?" someone called from further away. "Nothing here," my nearby searcher responded. "But check the old Ramsey property. They always come back there eventually." Come back? Who were they looking for? As the search party moved on, I grabbed my phone to find it had no service. Not even emergency calls would go through. The forest seemed to have swallowed all connections to the outside world. I was truly alone, trapped between hostile locals and whatever secret they were protecting in these woods. Dawn was still hours away, but sleep was now impossible as I strained to catch any sound of the searchers returning. In the faint moonlight filtering through the trees, I noticed something odd about the forest floor around my van. Circular patterns in the undergrowth, too perfect to be natural, and carved into a nearby tree trunk, partially obscured by moss. A symbol I didn't recognize. Concentric circles with a vertical line bisecting them. The same symbol appeared on other trees as I looked around, forming what seemed to be a boundary. With sickening clarity, I realized I hadn't randomly parked for the night. I had driven straight into the heart of whatever these people were trying to hide. First light revealed the true strangeness of my surroundings. What I had taken for circular patterns in the darkness were actually rings of mushrooms, dozens of perfect fairy rings surrounding my van. The morning dew made them glisten unnaturally, some emitting a faint phosphorescence that should have faded with the dawn but didn't. More disturbing were the carvings, not just on a few trees, but on every trunk within sight. The same concentric circle pattern repeated over and over, some fresh and others weathered with age. This wasn't random vandalism. This was ritual, territory marking on a scale that must have taken years, perhaps generations. I started the van with shaking hands, determined to leave before whoever had been searching returned. The engine sputtered reluctantly before catching, as if something had affected it overnight. As I began to navigate the narrow track back to the main road, a fallen tree blocked my path, one that definitely hadn't been there when I arrived. The cut was fresh, the sawdust still bright on the dark forest floor. My pulse quickened as I considered my options. I could try to find another way out or abandon the van and flee on foot. Before I could decide, movement caught my eye, a figure standing among the trees, watching me. Unlike the searchers from last night, this person made no attempt to hide. It was a woman, elderly but standing straight, her white hair loose around her shoulders and her clothes oddly formal for the wilderness, a long dress that might have been fashionable decades ago. She raised her hand in what might have been greeting or warning, then turned and walked deeper into the forest with surprising speed. Without fully understanding why, I found myself leaving the van and following her, drawn by some inexplicable need to understand what was happening. The mushroom rings seemed to pulse as I stepped over them, releasing spores that drifted upward in spiraling patterns. The woman led me to a small clearing where the morning light struggled to penetrate the canopy. At its center stood a dilapidated cabin that seemed to have grown from the forest itself, its walls overtaken by moss and fungi. "You shouldn't have come here," she said without turning around, her voice stronger than her appearance suggested. "But since you have, you might as well know the truth." Inside the cabin, the air was thick with the smell of earth and decay. Shelves lined the walls, filled with jars containing specimens I couldn't identify, twisted roots, preserved animals with too many limbs, fungi in impossible colors. A large map covered one wall, marked with dates and locations spanning decades. My blood ran cold as I recognized yesterday's date marked at the exact spot where I had parked. Every 7 years, the forest reclaims what was taken, the woman explained, gesturing to the map. The timber company you saw, Harlow Lumber, they've been cutting where they shouldn't, taking trees that were meant to remain. Now the balance must be restored. She touched a jar containing what looked like black soil. The mycelium remembers. It connects everything in these woods, and it demands payment for what was stolen. I struggled to make sense of her words. What does this have to do with keeping people away? With following me? My voice sounded small in the oppressive cabin air. The woman's expression softened slightly, showing a hint of genuine concern. Those men weren't trying to harm you. They were trying to save you. Tonight is the 7th year. When darkness falls, the forest will take its tithe. Anyone within these boundaries becomes eligible. She pointed to a yellowed newspaper clipping pinned to the wall, a decades-old story about hikers gone missing in these same woods, never found despite extensive searches. A sound outside the cabin drew our attention, voices approaching, urgent and angry. The woman's eyes widened. "They found us. You need to go now." She pushed me toward a back door I hadn't noticed. "Follow the stream downhill. Don't stop, don't look back, and whatever you hear, don't respond to voices calling your name." "How would they know my name?" I asked, confused. The woman didn't answer, instead pressing something into my palm, a small wooden disc carved with the same concentric circle pattern I'd seen on the trees. "Protection," she whispered. "Now run." I burst from the cabin as the first searchers reached the clearing. Among them was the older man from yesterday, now carrying a rifle. "Margaret," he shouted at the woman. "You know the rules. No interference." I didn't wait to hear more, plunging into the underbrush toward the sound of running water. The forest seemed to close around me as I ran, branches reaching like fingers, roots rising to trip my feet. The stream appeared ahead, its water unnaturally dark and still despite flowing downhill. As I followed its course, the mushroom rings became more frequent, forming corridors that seemed to pulse with awareness. Something moved beneath the surface of the stream, shapes that shouldn't exist in freshwater, too large and sinuous. By midday, I was hopelessly lost. The stream had split and rejoined multiple times, the sun obscured by thickening clouds. Worst of all, I began to notice subtle changes in the forest, the same trees appearing in places they couldn't possibly be, landmarks I'd passed hours ago suddenly ahead of me again. I wasn't making progress. I was walking in elaborate circles, being herded like prey. As afternoon faded toward evening, I reached a clearing unlike any I'd seen before. At its center stood an enormous tree stump, wider than my van, its surface polished smooth by what must have been decades of use. The concentric rings of its growth were emphasized with some dark substance that glistened wetly in the fading light. Around the stump, the ground was bare earth, unnaturally black and rich, with those same mushroom rings forming perfect circles at increasing distances. Standing before this ancient altar, for that's clearly what it was, I finally understood the woman's warning. This wasn't just about trespassing or local superstition. As darkness began to fall, the forest itself seemed to exhale around me, mushrooms glowing brighter, spores filling the air like luminescent snow. And from every direction came the sound of movement. Not just the searchers now, but something else moving between the trees, something vast that seemed to shift in and out of visibility. "Mia," a voice called from behind me, my name in a stranger's mouth. I froze, remembering Margaret's warning not to respond. How did they know who I was? I'd given no identification to anyone since arriving. "Mia Delacroix." The voice came again, closer now, using my full name with perfect pronunciation. "You're just in time for the ceremony." I spun around to face the voice that knew my name, finding myself staring at the young man from the pickup truck, Joe. But something was different about him now. His eyes reflected the phosphorescent glow of the mushrooms, and dark veins traced patterns beneath his skin that matched the tree carvings. He wasn't alone. The entire search party had emerged from the trees, forming a loose circle around the clearing. All wore the same vacant expression. All had the same strange veining visible on their exposed skin. "How do you know my name?" I demanded, backing toward the enormous stump. Joe smiled, the expression not reaching his glowing eyes. "The forest knows all who enter it," he replied simply. "It's been waiting for you. For someone like you. Untethered, unlikely to be missed right away. A perfect offering." The other searchers murmured in agreement, their voices overlapping in an unsettling chorus. I clutched the wooden disc Margaret had given me, feeling its edges dig into my palm. "I'm not an offering," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. "And I'm leaving now. People know where I am." It was a desperate lie. Nobody knew my exact location. My irregular check-ins with friends back home wouldn't raise alarms for days. Joe stepped closer, unfazed. "Your van is already being absorbed. By morning, there won't be any evidence you were ever here." A chill ran through me as I remembered the mushrooms surrounding my vehicle, how the forest seemed to be reclaiming the cabin where Margaret lived. This wasn't metaphorical. The forest literally consumed what it claimed. The light was fading rapidly now, an unnatural darkness descending too quickly for the normal sunset. The mushroom rings intensified their glow, illuminating the clearing with an eerie blue light. From deeper in the forest came sounds I couldn't, or didn't want to, identify. Cracking wood, rustling undergrowth, and something huge moving deliberately toward us. "The harvester approaches," one of the older women announced, her voice reverent. The group began to sway slightly, a subtle synchronization that suggested they were connected somehow, parts of a larger organism rather than individual people. I realized with horror that the strange veining under their skin was moving, spreading, connecting them to each other and to the mycelium network beneath our feet. I had to act now. While they were distracted by their ritual, I made a break for the gap between two swaying figures. For a moment, I thought I might make it. Then hands grabbed me from all sides, impossibly strong. They lifted me effortlessly, carrying me toward the enormous stump. I kicked and screamed, but my struggles seemed distant, almost happening to someone else, as spores filled the air around my face, inducing a strange calm that terrified the still rational part of my mind. "The forest takes its tithe," Joe announced formally as they laid me across the stump. The wood felt warm beneath me, pulsing like a heartbeat. What was stolen must be returned. Flesh becomes soil, bone becomes wood, spirit becomes memory in the network. The others repeated this like a mantra, their voices blending into the growing sounds of the forest. As they secured my wrists and ankles with rope of vines that seemed to grow from the stump itself, I remembered the wooden disc still clutched in my hand. Margaret had called it protection. With my last bit of freedom, I pressed it against the surface of the stump beneath me. The reaction was immediate and violent. The stump trembled, the vines holding me suddenly recoiling as if burned. The forest floor rippled outward from where the disc touched wood, mushrooms dimming momentarily before flaring brighter than before. The townsfolk stumbled back, their synchronized movements disrupted. "She bears the mark of the first tree," gasped the elderly woman, pointing at the disc now sinking into the surface of the stump like it was melting into butter. The old balance, not the new. Confusion erupted among the group, their hive-mind connection seemingly broken. Some backed away further, while others moved toward me with renewed purpose. Joe's face contorted with rage or fear. "It doesn't matter," he shouted over the growing tumult from the forest. "The harvester still comes, and payment must be made." The sound that had been approaching reached the edge of the clearing, a massive disturbance of trees and earth. The forest parted to reveal something my mind struggled to comprehend. A towering figure composed not of flesh but of intertwined roots, fungi, and decaying matter. Its roughly humanoid shape twisted constantly, faces forming and dissolving in its surface, some I recognized from the search party, others ancient and unfamiliar. This was no forest spirit or mythological creature. This was the physical manifestation of the mycelium network, the forest using its collective biomass to create a form that could interact with our world. Science and superstition blurred as I watched it lumber into the clearing, leaving new mushroom rings with each step. In the confusion, I managed to free one hand, then the other, the vines no longer actively fighting to hold me. I rolled off the stump just as the harvester reached for me with appendages that seemed to multiply as I watched. The townsfolk had fallen to their knees, some weeping, others chanting faster, more desperately. I ran, not toward any particular escape route, just away from the stump, away from those grasping appendages. The forest that had seemed so determined to keep me lost now parted before me, offering clear paths that I took without questioning. Behind me, something like a roar of frustration shook the canopy, sending birds erupting into the night sky. The forest floor sloped downward, steeper and steeper until I was half running, half sliding down a ravine I hadn't noticed before. Roots caught at my clothing, but unlike before, they seemed to be pushing me forward rather than holding me back. The wooden disc had changed something fundamental in how the forest perceived me. Lights appeared ahead, artificial lights, the unmistakable glow of civilization. I redoubled my efforts, ignoring the scratches and bruises accumulating as I tumbled down the final slope. Behind me, the sounds of pursuit grew fainter, the presence of the harvester receding as I approached the boundary of its domain. With a final desperate surge, I burst from the tree line onto an asphalt road, the sudden transition so abrupt it felt like breaking through a membrane. Headlights approached, a logging truck rumbling down the otherwise deserted highway. I waved frantically, prepared to throw myself in front of it if necessary. The truck screeched to a halt, its driver leaning out with concern. "Lady, you okay? What the hell happened to you?" I must have been a terrifying sight, clothes torn, covered in dirt and blood from countless scratches, eyes wild with fear. I couldn't find words to explain, simply pointing back toward the forest edge where, impossibly, the trees were now perfectly still, showing no sign of the chaos I'd just escaped. No pursuing townsfolk, no monstrous harvester, just normal woods in the gathering darkness. "Please," I finally managed. "Just get me away from here. As far as possible." The driver, seeing my genuine terror, nodded and helped me into the cab. As we pulled away, I watched the forest recede in the side mirror. At the exact spot where I had emerged, a single figure stood watching. Margaret, her white hair ghostly in the fading light, one hand raised in what might have been farewell or warning. The truck driver, a weathered man named Cal, asked few questions as he drove me to the nearest town with the sheriff's office. I gave him the barest outline, got lost hiking, encountered hostile locals, fled through the forest. He nodded as if this explanation was sufficient, though his sideways glances suggested he suspected there was more to the story. Harlow County's got strange folks, he offered as we approached the lights of a proper town, larger than the village I'd stopped in yesterday. Been logging those forests for 30 years, and there's places even I won't go after dark. He tapped a small wooden charm hanging from his rearview mirror, identical to the disc Margaret had given me, now lost in the stump. Local superstition, protection from the forest sickness. At the sheriff's department, my story was met with professional concern but underlying skepticism. Yes, they would send deputies to check on the situation. Yes, they would look for my van. No, they had no reports of missing persons in that area recently. The sheriff, a woman in her 50s with calculating eyes, seemed particularly interested when I mentioned the name Harlow Lumber. That company hasn't operated in years, she said, studying my reaction. Went bankrupt in the 90s after those environmental protests. My confusion must have been evident because she pushed a county map across her desk. Show me exactly where you encountered these people. I pointed to the approximate location, and the sheriff exchanged glances with her deputy. That's Ramsey land, the deputy murmured. Should be abandoned since the old man died. The name struck me. The searchers had mentioned checking the old Ramsey property the night before. I know what I saw, I insisted. People with the company logo on their clothes. The mushrooms, the carvings. I stopped as the sheriff's expression hardened. Mushrooms, she repeated. What kind exactly? There was something in her tone that suggested she already knew the answer, was testing me somehow. Rings of them, glowing blue at night. I watched their reactions carefully, and everyone there had these strange veins under their skin, like the pattern on the trees. The sheriff abruptly closed her notebook. Deputy, please escort Ms. Delacroix to the motel. County will cover tonight's stay. She avoided my eyes. We'll send someone to look for your van in the morning. Her dismissal was clear, but as the deputy led me out, I glimpsed her reaching for a locked cabinet behind her desk, removing what looked like an old leather journal. At the motel, a dated single-story building with peeling paint, I showered away the physical evidence of my ordeal, watching as dirt, blood, and something like black spores swirled down the drain. Sleep was impossible despite my exhaustion. Every sound outside my door made me tense, expecting the townspeople, or worse, the harvester, to have followed me. Morning brought no relief. The deputy who arrived to take my statement was different from the previous night, with no knowledge of plans to search for my van. When I insisted on speaking with the sheriff, I was told she had been called away on urgent business. The new deputy seemed genuinely confused by my story, as if details had been deliberately omitted from his briefing. With growing suspicion, I used the motel's ancient desktop computer to research Harlow County while waiting. The results were disturbing. Harlow lumber had indeed collapsed decades ago following protests over clear-cutting practices. The protest camp had mysteriously burned down, with several environmental activists never accounted for. More disturbingly, the county had an unusually high rate of missing persons, hikers, campers, and drifters who vanished without trace, their disappearances separated by almost exactly 7 years. Most revealing was an archived newspaper article about Margaret Ramsey, the woman who had tried to help me. Once a respected botanist, she had returned to her family property after studying fungal networks at the university. Her subsequent papers about sentient mycelium and forest consciousness had destroyed her academic reputation. The scientific community had labeled her a crackpot when she claimed the forest was actively responding to human encroachment. The article included a photograph of a younger Margaret standing proudly before an enormous old-growth tree. The same tree, I was certain, that had become the stump in the clearing. When the deputy finally returned, he brought unexpected news. They had found my van parked at a designated camping area off the main highway, apparently untouched. My confusion must have been obvious because he showed me photos on his phone. My van, exactly as I remembered it, but in a location I had never visited. Must have gotten turned around in the woods, he suggested kindly. Happens to the best of us. Might want to get checked for concussion though. Those scratches on your head look nasty. I knew what I had seen, what I had experienced. But faced with this contradictory evidence and the deputy's matter-of-fact explanation, doubt began to creep in. Had I imagined it all? A hallucination from toxic mushroom spores perhaps, or a panic-induced delusion after getting lost? The deputy drove me to retrieve my van. As we approached the camping area, my sense of wrongness intensified. This was not where I had been. The terrain was completely different. Yet there sat my van, looking perfectly ordinary in the morning sunlight. Inside, everything was as I had left it, except for one detail that sent ice through my veins. A small wooden disc, identical to Margaret's protection, placed carefully on my pillow. I thanked the deputy and waited until he had driven away before examining the disc more closely. Carved into its reverse side was a message I hadn't noticed on the original. 7 years. Be elsewhere. A warning for the next cycle, when the forest would again demand its payment. As I started the van with shaking hands, I noticed something sprouting from the floor mat. A tiny mushroom pushing through the rubber, glowing faintly even in daylight. I crushed it immediately, but the implication was clear. The forest had marked me. Part of it had come with me, a spore-taking route, on the main highway heading east, as far from Oregon as my fuel tank would carry me. I checked my phone for the first time since my ordeal. Dozens of notifications had arrived simultaneously as I left the county limits, as if they had been held back until now. Among them was an email from an address I didn't recognize, sent the day before I had even arrived in Oregon. The message was brief. The forest chooses carefully. What was taken must be returned, but an exchange can be arranged. 7 years. Remember. Attached was a scientific paper, never published, detailing fungal reproduction through human hosts, with photographs showing the progression of mycelium infiltration beneath human skin, the same veining I had seen on the townspeople. In my rearview mirror, the forests of Harlow County receded, looking perfectly normal and inviting in the morning light. But I knew something waited there, growing, spreading, remembering. And in 7 years, it would hunger again. The wooden disc sat heavy in my pocket. Protection, yes, but also a contract. I had been marked, selected, not as prey, but as something worse, a carrier, bringing the forest's influence to new territories. The mushroom I had crushed left a bioluminescent smear on my shoe that wouldn't wipe away. As I crossed the state line, I swear it pulsed in rhythm with my heartbeat, a tiny fragment of the network, still connected to the greater organism miles behind me. Still watching, still waiting. 7 years might seem long to humans, but to a forest that had waited centuries for revenge against those who had cut its ancient heart, it was barely a moment. Rain patters on the roof of my van, a steady drumbeat that's oddly comforting. I'm parked on a gravel pullout just off Highway 101, somewhere south of Lincoln City, Oregon. My name's Riley Harper, I'm 29 years old, and I call Seattle home, though I've been living in this converted Sprinter van for the past year. It's my sanctuary, string lights, a tiny kitchen, a bed that creaks when I roll over. Tonight, I'm chasing solitude, drawn to the rugged Oregon coast for its wild beauty. The ocean's out there, hidden in the dark, roaring like it's got secrets. I sip coffee from a chipped mug, scrolling through my phone. The signal weak, but enough to check messages. My buddy Ethan, back in Seattle, texted earlier, joking about me getting eaten by Bigfoot out here. I laugh, but the isolation feels heavier than usual. The pullout's deserted, just me and the van, surrounded by dense forest that swallows the moonlight. I'd read about these coastal towns, tight-knit, suspicious of outsiders like me. Doesn't bother me much. I keep to myself. But as I lock the doors and climb into bed, I notice a faint glow through the trees, maybe a mile off. A house. A campfire? It's too far to tell. I shrug it off, pull my blanket tight, and try to sleep. The rain's louder now, masking other sounds, but I swear I hear a low hum, like an engine idling nearby. I sit up, peering through the curtain. Nothing but darkness and wet gravel. Probably just the wind playing tricks. Still, my heart's beating a little faster than I'd like. I've always loved the freedom of van life, going where I want. No rent, no rules. But there's a trade-off. You're exposed out here, a guest in places that don't always welcome you. I think about my last stop in Astoria, where a diner waitress gave me a hard stare when I asked for a coffee to go. "You passing through?" she'd said, like it was a challenge. I told her yeah, just exploring, and she nodded, but her eyes didn't soften. Locals around here don't seem to like folks who don't belong. I get it, small towns, old grudges. But it's just me, my van, and a dream of seeing every corner of the country. Before I left Seattle, my sister, Claire, warned me about places like this. "Some towns don't take kindly to strangers," she said, half serious, handing me a can of pepper spray. I laughed it off, but I tucked the spray in my glove box anyway. Now, lying here, I wonder if I should have listened closer. The hum's gone, replaced by the rain's steady rhythm. I tell myself I'm being paranoid. This is just another night, another stop. I've parked in worse spots, deserts, mountains, even a Walmart lot once. Nothing's ever happened. Still, I double-check the locks before closing my eyes. The van's cozy, but it's small, and every sound feels amplified. A branch scrapes the roof, and I flinch, imagining someone out there, watching. I shake it off, blaming too many horror podcasts. I've got a knife under my pillow, a habit from my early days on the road. Never needed it, but it's there. The glow in the distance is still nagging at me. I consider driving closer to check it out, but the rain's pouring harder, and I'm not that curious. Besides, I'm here for peace, not adventure. I plug in my phone, set an alarm for sunrise, and try to relax. Morning's supposed to bring a hike along the cliffs, maybe some photos for my Instagram. I've got a small following, mostly vanlifers and wanderers like me. They love the shots of misty forests and empty beaches. Oregon's perfect for that, all raw and untamed. But tonight, the vibe's off. Maybe it's the weather, or the way the trees seem to lean in, like they're listening. I laugh at myself. Listen to me, getting all poetic. It's just a forest, just a night. I pull out a book, some beat-up thriller, hoping it'll distract me. The book doesn't help. Every page turn feels like a countdown to something. I keep glancing at the windows, expecting a face pressed against the glass. Nothing's there, of course, but the feeling lingers. I think about my parents, back in Seattle, probably watching some cheesy rom-com. They don't get the van life thing, but they support it, mostly. Just be careful, Mom always says. I promised her I would. Now, I'm wondering what careful even means out here, alone, in a place that feels like it's holding its breath. I set the book down and check my phone again. No new messages, no signal now. The rain's a full-on storm, wind rattling the van. I'm used to rough weather, but this feels personal, like the sky's trying to tell me something. I crawl back into bed, pulling the curtains tight. The glow's still out there, fainter now, or maybe my eyes are playing tricks. I tell myself it's nothing, just some locals having a late night. But as I drift off, I can't shake the sense that I'm not as alone as I think. Sleep's hard to come by, but I force my eyes shut. The rain's my lullaby, drowning out the world. I'm just a guy in a van, chasing freedom, parked in the middle of nowhere. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing ever does. But deep down, I know I'm lying to myself. Something's out there, and it's not just the storm. Morning hits like a slap, gray light creeping through the van's curtains. The rain's eased to a drizzle, but the air's thick with that damp, earthy smell. I'm Riley Harper, still parked off Highway 101 south of Lincoln City, Oregon, and I'm already regretting last night's choice. My phone's dead, no signal, no charger juice left. I forgot to plug it into the van's battery system, a rookie mistake I haven't made in months. I groan, rubbing my eyes, and climb out of bed. The van's chilly, my breath fogging as I fumble for a sweater. Coffee's my first priority, but when I turn on the stove, the propane sputters. Low tank. Great. 2 problems before I've even brushed my teeth. I step outside, boots crunching on wet gravel, and scan the pullout. The forest's quieter now, but it's got this heavy vibe, like it's watching me. My van's the only vehicle here, a lone white speck against the green. I pop the hood to check the battery, hoping I can charge my phone manually. Everything looks fine, but when I try starting the engine, it coughs and dies. My stomach twists. This isn't just a dead battery, it's something worse. I'm no mechanic, but I know a fuel pump issue when I hear it. Last time this happened was in Idaho, cost me $400. Out here, with no tow truck in sight, I'm screwed. Back inside, I dig through my supplies. Half a granola bar, a bottle of water, and a bag of stale chips. I was supposed to restock in Lincoln City, but I got distracted by the coast's views and figured I'd do it later. Another dumb move. I think about hiking to the highway, maybe flagging someone down, but the road's a good mile off, and the drizzle's picking up. Plus, that glow I saw last night's still on my mind. It's daylight now, so maybe it's just a house, but something about it felt wrong. Disturbing, even. Like it wasn't meant to be seen. I grab my map, old school, paper, because GPS is useless without a phone. There's a small town, Otter Rock, a few miles north. I could walk there, find a mechanic, maybe a store. But Claire's voice echoes in my head. Some towns don't take kindly to strangers. I shake it off, but the thought sticks. Locals around here already gave me the cold shoulder in Astoria. What if Otter Rock's worse? Still, staying put's not an option. The van's dead, and I'm low on food. I pack a backpack, water, pepper spray, knife, and lock the van. It's a risk leaving it, but I don't have a choice. The trail to the highway's muddy, roots tripping me every few steps. I'm halfway there when I spot tire tracks in the dirt, fresh ones, not mine. Someone was out here last night, after the rain started. My skin prickles. Could be a hunter, a ranger, or just some kids messing around. but the tracks veer off toward where I saw that glow. I tell myself it's nothing, but my pace quickens. The forest's too quiet. No birds, no wind, just my boots squelching. It's creepy, like the whole place is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I reach the highway, but it's empty. No cars, no people, just asphalt stretching into the mist. I start walking north, toward Otter Rock, my backpack heavy on my shoulders. After 20 minutes, a pickup truck rumbles by, slowing as it passes. Two guys inside, maybe my age, stare at me hard. I wave, trying to look friendly, but they don't wave back. The truck speeds off, leaving me in a cloud of exhaust. My gut churns. That look wasn't curiosity, it was suspicion, like I'm an intruder. The horror of being stuck out here, alone, starts sinking in. Otter Rock's closer now, maybe a mile off. I pass a faded sign. Private property, no trespassing. It's nailed to a tree, half covered in moss. I'm on public land, so it's not for me, but it's another reminder. This place doesn't want outsiders. I think about turning back, fixing the van myself somehow, but I'm committed now. My phone's still dead, and I need help. A twig snaps behind me, sharp and loud. I spin around, heart racing, but it's just a deer staring at me before bolting into the trees. I laugh, but it's shaky. I'm jumping at shadows, and it's only noon. The town comes into view, a cluster of weathered buildings hugged by the coast. I spot a gas station with a small garage next to it. Relief hits, but it's short-lived. As I cross the street, an old man on a porch watches me, his eyes narrow, unblinking. I nod at him, but he doesn't nod back. It's not just unfriendly, it's hostile, like I've already done something wrong. The scary thing is, I don't know what. I push open the gas station door, the bell jangling too loud. A woman behind the counter looks up, her face blank. "You need something?" she says, voice flat. I'm about to answer when I notice a guy in the corner, staring at me, his hand resting on a hunting knife at his belt. I force a smile, trying to act normal, but my voice catches. "Yeah, my van broke down a few miles back. Need a mechanic." The woman doesn't move, just keeps staring. The guy with the knife shifts, leaning closer. My heart's pounding now, and I realize I might have walked into something way worse than a broken van. The air is thick with tension, and I'm starting to think coming here was a mistake. A big one. The gas station's fluorescent lights buzz like angry wasps, making my skin crawl. I'm standing at the counter in Otter Rock, Oregon, trying to explain my van's breakdown to the woman behind it. Her name tag says Doris, but she's not exactly radiating warmth. Her eyes flick to the guy in the corner, the one with the hunting knife, and I catch a quick nod between them. My stomach lurches. This isn't just small-town suspicion anymore. It's something darker, more disturbing. I mumble something about needing a tow truck, but Doris cuts me off. "Mechanic's out till tomorrow," she says, her voice sharp. "You best wait. Wait. Out here, with no phone, no food, and these people staring at me like I'm prey?" I glance at knife guy, who's now standing, his hand still on that blade. He's tall, maybe 30, with a patchy beard and a flannel shirt that's seen better days. "Where you from?" he asks, stepping closer. His tone's casual, but it's laced with menace. I tell him Seattle, keeping it short, hoping it'll defuse things. It doesn't. He smirks, like I've just confirmed something. "City boy, huh? Shouldn't be out here alone." My heart's hammering now, and I realize I'm clutching the pepper spray in my pocket. I don't want to use it, but the air is thick with threat, and every instinct's screaming at me to get out. I back toward the door, trying to stay calm. "Look, I'll just head back to my van, figure it out myself." Doris snorts, like I've said something funny. "Road's no place for you now," she says, and there's a glint in her eye that's straight up scary. I don't know what she means, but I'm not sticking around to find out. I push the door open, the bell jangling, and step into the drizzle. The old man from the porch is still there, watching, and now there's another guy with him, younger, holding a rifle. My blood runs cold. This isn't just unfriendly, it's a setup, and I've walked right into it. I start walking fast, heading back toward the highway, my boots slipping on the wet pavement. The town's quiet, too quiet, like everyone's in on something I'm not. I glance over my shoulder. No one's following, but I feel eyes on me, boring into my back. The forest looms on either side, dense and dark, and I'm kicking myself for leaving the van. Claire's pepper spray feels like a toy now, useless against whatever's brewing here. I think about those tire tracks I saw earlier, the glow in the woods. Were they watching me last night? The thought's horrifying, but it fits. These people don't just dislike outsiders, they're hunting them. A truck engine rumbles behind me, and I duck behind a tree, hard in my throat. It's the same pickup from earlier, the one with the two guys who stare me down. It slows as it passes, and I catch a glimpse of the driver, knife guy from the gas station. He's scanning the road, like he's looking for me. My mouth goes dry. This is real. They're after me, and I don't know why. I wait till the truck's out of sight, then bolt into the forest, staying off the road. The trees are thick, branches snagging my jacket, but I keep moving. I need to get back to the van, grab my stuff, and figure out how to get the hell out of here. The forest is a maze, and I'm no survivalist. I trip over a root, scraping my knee, and curse under my breath. My backpack's heavy, slowing me down, but I can't ditch it. It's got my only supplies. I stop to catch my breath, listening hard. There's a faint rustle, not the wind, something deliberate. I freeze, scanning the trees. Nothing. But the feeling's back, that sense of being watched. It's like every horror movie I've ever seen. Only this time, I'm the idiot who didn't leave when he had the chance. I grip my knife, wishing I'd paid more attention to Dad's camping lessons back in Seattle. I'm maybe a mile from the van when I see it. A scrap of fabric caught on a branch, blue and torn. It's not mine, but it's fresh, like someone else was running through here. My mind races. Another Vanlifer? A hiker? Or worse, someone who crossed these locals and didn't make it? The thought's too scary to dwell on, but it fuels my panic. I keep moving, faster now, the drizzle turning to rain again. The van's my only shot, broken or not. It's shelter, maybe a way to hide. But as I get closer to the pullout, I hear voices, low and rough, coming from the direction of my van. I crouch behind a fallen log, peering through the trees. There's a flashlight beam cutting through the rain, bobbing near where I parked. Two figures, maybe three, circling my van. One of them laughs, a cruel sound that makes my skin crawl. They're not here to help. They're tearing into my home. I hear metal scrape, like they're prying something open. My heart sinks. They've got my van, and I'm out here, alone, with nowhere to go. The terror's real now, sharp and suffocating, and I realize I'm not just in trouble, I'm in a nightmare. I clutch the knife tighter, my hands shaking. The voices are clearer now, talking about teaching him a lesson. Me. They're talking about me. I don't know what I did, or why they hate me, but it doesn't matter. This town's got a grudge against outsiders, and I'm their target. The flashlight beam swings toward the forest, and I duck lower, praying they don't see me. I need a plan, but my mind's blank, drowned out by fear. All I know is I can't stay here, and I can't go back. The horror of it all is sinking in, and I'm running out of time. Rain's pounding now, soaking my jacket as I crouch behind the log, watching those figures mess with my van. I'm Riley Harper, stuck in the woods south of Lincoln City, Oregon, and I'm in deep trouble. The flashlight beam swings closer, and I hear a shout, my name. They know who I am. My blood freezes. How? Maybe they saw my license plate. Or worse, they've been tracking me since I rolled into their territory. The terror's choking me, but I force myself to move, crawling through the mud, away from the pullout. My van's gone, my home violated, and these locals aren't just suspicious, they're hunting me like an animal. I grip my knife, but it feels useless against their numbers. I stumble through the forest, branches clawing my face. The voices fade, but I don't slow down. I'm running blind. No map, no phone, just instinct. The highway's too risky. They've got trucks, and I'm sure they're patrolling. I think about that fabric I found, the blue scrap. Someone else ran through here, and I'm betting they didn't make it. The thought's horrifying, but it keeps my legs moving. I trip, slamming my shin against a rock, and bite back a scream. Pain shoots through me, but I can't stop. If they catch me, it's over. I don't know what they'll do, but that laugh I heard, cruel, cold, tells me it won't be quick. The trees thin out, and I spot a ravine, a steep drop to a rocky creek below. It's a gamble, but it's cover. I slide down, mud caking my jeans, and huddle under an overhang. My heart's pounding so loud I'm sure they'll hear it. I check my backpack. Water's half gone, pepper spray's still there, but the knife's slippery in my sweaty hand. I think about Ethan, joking about Bigfoot. If only. This is worse, real and disturbing, like something out of a nightmare. I hear an engine in the distance, maybe a mile off. They're searching, and I'm running out of places to hide. I wait, shivering, until the engine fades. The creek's shallow, so I follow it, hoping it leads somewhere safe. My shins throbbing, and every step's a fight. I'm no hero. I'm just a guy who wanted to see the coast. How'd it come to this? I think about Claire, her warning about small towns. Should have listened. The forest's dark now, the rain a curtain, but I spot a faint trail, maybe a game path. It's my only shot. I follow it, praying it doesn't loop back to the highway. The scary thing is, I don't know where I'm going, just away from them. A twig snaps behind me, and I whirl around, knife raised. Nothing, just rain and shadows. But I'm not alone. I feel it, that same watch sensation from last night. My mind's screaming at me to run, but my legs are heavy, exhaustion creeping in. I think about my parents, probably eating dinner in Seattle, clueless that their son's fighting for his life. The horror of it hits hard. I might not make it out. I push forward, the trail narrowing, until I see a clearing. There's a shed, old and rotting, half hidden by vines. Shelter, maybe, or a trap. I creep closer, checking for movement. The shed's empty, just rusted tools and a dirt floor. I slip inside, shutting the door. It's dry, but it smells like decay, and I gag. I'm safe for now, but it's temporary. Those guys aren't giving up. I heard them say lesson, and it wasn't friendly. I sit, back against the wall, and try to think. My van's trashed, my phone's dead, and I'm miles from help. The rain's masking my tracks, but it's also masking theirs. I need to move soon, but where? The coast? Another town? Every option feels like a death sentence. My eyes adjust to the dark, and I notice scratches on the shed's walls. Deep, frantic, like someone clawed at them. My stomach drops. This isn't just a shed, it's a cage. Someone was here before me. Maybe the person who left that fabric. The thought's too disturbing to linger on, but it's fuel. I can't end up like them. I check the door, ready to bolt, when I hear it. A low whistle. Close, maybe 50 yards off. It's not random, it's a signal. They're here, and they're closing in. My heart's in my throat, and I'm out of time. I grab my backpack, knife in hand, and slip out the back, where the shed's wall is half collapsed. The whistle's louder now, joined by another. They're coordinating, like wolves. I run, legs burning, toward the creek again. It's deeper here, knee-high, and I wade through, the cold biting my skin. A flashlight beam cuts through the trees, and I dive behind a boulder. Someone shouts, he's close. It's Knife Guy's voice, and it's furious. I'm not just running from danger. I'm running for my life, and they're not stopping until they have me. The creek bends, and I follow it, slipping on rocks, my breath ragged. I'm soaked, freezing, and terrified, but I keep going. The beams are farther now, but I hear dogs barking, sharp and vicious. They've got dogs. The horror's complete. I'm prey, and this forest is their hunting ground. I spot a ridge ahead, maybe a way to higher ground. If I can get there, I might lose them. But it's steep, and I'm exhausted. I start climbing, hands scrabbling at wet dirt, knowing one slip could end me. The barking's closer, and I don't look back. I'm clawing up the ridge, mud sliding under my nails, the dog's barks echoing below. I'm Riley Harper, and I'm out of options in this Oregon nightmare. The rain's relentless, blurring my vision, but I reach the top, a flat stretch of rock overlooking the forest. I'm exposed, but there's nowhere else to go. My shins screaming, my lungs burning, and I'm shaking so bad I can barely hold the knife. The flashlight beams are gone, but the dogs are louder, their snarls carrying through the storm. I scan for a path, anything to keep moving, and spot a faint trail leading toward the coast. It's my last shot, but it's open ground. Running there's a gamble I might not win. I take a step, then freeze. A figure's at the trailhead, maybe 100 yards off, holding a rifle. It's the guy from the porch, the younger one with the old man. He hasn't seen me yet, but he's scanning, slow and deliberate. My heart stops. I'm trapped, dogs behind, rifle ahead. I think about hiding, but the dogs will sniff me out. Surrender's not an option. These people don't want to talk. The horror of it sinks in. I'm not just an outsider to them. I'm a threat, and they're done playing. I back up, looking for cover, and my foot hits something soft. I glance down. It's a shoe, half buried in mud. A human shoe. My stomach heaves. It's not just a shoe. It's attached to a leg, or what's left of it. The body's hidden by brush, but I see enough. Torn clothes, blood, claw marks. Another Vanlifer, maybe, or some poor hiker who crossed these locals. The sight's so disturbing I almost scream, but I clamp my hand over my mouth. This is what they do to people like me. I'm not the first, and if I don't move, I won't be the last. The dogs are closer, their barks frantic. I force myself to think. The trail's blocked, but there's a drop-off to my left, a steep slope to the creek below. It's suicide, but it's all I've got. I edge toward the drop, heart pounding. The rifle guy's still there, oblivious, but the dogs are seconds away. I hear their paws now, splashing through the creek. I don't think. Just go, sliding down the slope on my back, rocks tearing at me. I hit the creek hard, water flooding my mouth. I scramble up, coughing, and run downstream, away from the ridge. The dog's barks fade, but I'm not safe. I'm bleeding, disoriented, and I've lost my backpack in the fall. The knife's still in my hand, but it's all I've got left. The scary thing is, I'm not sure I can keep going. I stumble through the creek, the cold numbing my legs. The forest's thinning, and I smell salt. The ocean's close. If I can reach the beach, maybe I'll find help, a road, anything. But my body's giving out. I'm dizzy, my shins swollen, and I'm leaving a blood trail. I think about my family, my van, the life I thought I'd live. It feels like a dream now, stolen by these people who hate me for existing. I hear a shout behind me, human this time. They found my trail. I push forward, the creek spilling onto a rocky beach. The ocean's there, vast and uncaring, waves crashing under the storm. I'm on the beach now, staggering toward a cluster of driftwood. Maybe I can hide, wait them out. My vision's blurring, but I see lights in the distance, maybe a house, a lighthouse. Hope flickers, but it's weak. I duck behind the driftwood, panting, and check my wounds. My shin's bad, infected maybe, and I've got cuts I didn't notice. The shouts are closer, and I hear the dogs again. I grip the knife, ready to fight, but I'm no match for them. The horror's overwhelming. I'm going to die here, alone, because I parked in the wrong place. I crawl deeper into the driftwood, praying they'll miss me. The lights are closer, but they're not a house. They're flashlights, more of them. My hope dies. It's not help. It's the rest of the town joining the hunt. I think about that body, the claw marks. Was it the dogs, or something worse? I don't want to know. I try to stand, to run, but my leg buckles, and I collapse. The knife slips from my hand, lost in the sand. I'm defenseless, and they're coming. I hear Knife Guy's voice, laughing, saying, "Found him." My heart sinks. I made a mistake coming here, trusting I'd be safe. They're on the beach now, beams sweeping the driftwood. I curl up, trying to disappear, but it's useless. A dog snarls, inches away, and I smell its breath. I think about Claire, her pepper spray, my parents' faces. I'm sorry, I whisper, to myself. The flashlight hits me, blinding, and Knife Guy steps forward, his blade gleaming. "Told you, city boy," he says. I close my eyes, waiting for the end, the tragedy complete. I was just a guy in a van, chasing freedom, and now I'm nothing but a lesson for the next outsider who dares to stop in Otter Rock. The dog lunges, teeth bared, and I scream, but it's cut short. The world goes black, and the last thing I hear is the ocean, roaring like it's mourning me. My story's over, ended by a deadly mistake, thinking I could belong where I was never welcome. The town's won, their secret safe, another stranger erased. I'm gone, and the rain keeps falling, washing away any trace of Riley Harper. The fog's thick tonight, curling around my van like a living thing. I'm parked in a dirt lot just off Devil's Punch Bowl State Natural Area, near Otter Rock, Oregon. My name's Avery Quinn, I'm 27 years old, and I live out of this beat-up Ford Transit, calling Portland home when I'm not on the road. The van's my world, with paneling, a fold-out bed, and a stove that's seen better days. I've been chasing waves in quiet for 6 months, but tonight's got a weird vibe. The ocean's out there, crashing against the cliffs, but I can't see it through the mist. I'm sipping tea, my lantern casting shadows, when I notice my radio's static. Odd, since it was fine earlier. I step outside to check the antenna, my boots sinking into the damp earth. The lot's empty, just me and the van, with the Punch Bowl's trails nearby. I'd read about Otter Rock, small, clannish, not big on tourists. Doesn't faze me. I'm used to solo trips. But as I fiddle with the antenna, I spot a flicker in the fog, maybe a quarter-mile off. A light, steady, not a car. It's too faint to be sure, but it feels off. I shake it off, blaming the creepy stories I read online about coastal towns. Back inside, I lock the doors, a habit from my first night on the road, when a raccoon scared the hell out of me. Vanlife's my escape from Portland's noise, cubicles, traffic, all that crap. Out here, it's just me, my surfboard, and the open road. But there's a catch. You're alone, and places like this don't always roll out the welcome mat. I think about my last stop in Newport, where a bartender gave me a look when I ordered a beer. "Not from around here, are ya?" he said, like it was a crime. I laughed it off, but it stuck with me. Locals here guard their turf, and I'm definitely an outsider. Still, I'm just passing through, here for a dawn surf session. My sister, Nora, called before I left Portland, half joking about me getting lost in the wild. "Watch out for weirdos," she said, tossing me a flashlight. It's in my glove box now, next to a multi-tool I've never used. I'm not worried, though. Never had real trouble on the road. The fog's thicker now, pressing against the windows, and the radio's still spitting static. I turn it off, but the silence is worse, heavy and unsettling. I laugh at myself. Too many late-night podcasts, Avery. It's just fog, just a night. I crawl into bed, pulling the curtains tight. The van's cozy, but every creak feels loud, like the world's leaning in. I think about that light again. Could be a house, a boat, or some kids with a fire. But it's nagging at me, like it's watching. I tell myself I'm being dumb, but I check the locks again. My surfboard's propped against the wall, a reminder of why I'm here. Tomorrow, I'll hit the waves, snap some pics, and move on. No big deal. But as I lie there, the fog seems to hum, low and steady, like it's alive. The lantern's dimming, so I switch it off, plunging the van into dark. I'm used to sleeping through storms, but this fog's different, almost suffocating. I think about my parents, probably binging some documentary in Portland. They don't get van life, but they text me every few days, checking in. "Stay safe," Mom always says. I promised I would. Now, I'm wondering what safe means in a place like this, where the air feels wrong. I pull my blanket up, trying to relax, but my eyes keep darting to the windows. Something scratches the van's side, faint but sharp. I sit up, heart kicking. Probably a branch, or maybe an animal. I listen hard, but it's gone. Still, my pulse won't slow. I grab my multi-tool, just in case, and peek through the curtain. Nothing but fog, thick and gray, swallowing everything. I'm overreacting, I know, but the horror of being out here, alone, is creeping in. I think about driving to a new spot, but the fog's too dense, and I don't trust these roads at night. I'm stuck, and it's starting to feel like a mistake. I lie back down, forcing deep breaths. The ocean's roar is distant, muffled by the fog. I tell myself it's fine. I've parked in weirder spots, like that desert in Nevada where coyotes howled all night. Nothing happened then, and nothing's happening now. But that light's still in my head, steady and wrong, like a signal I wasn't meant to see. I close my eyes, willing sleep to come, but the hum's back, louder now, vibrating through the van. It's not the fog. It's something else, and it's close. Sleep's a lost cause, so I sit up, clutching the multi-tool like it's a lifeline. The fog's a wall outside, and I'm cut off from the world. I'm just a surfer in a van, chasing a dream. But tonight, Otter Rock feels like it's got other plans. Something's out there, and it's not just the weather. I don't know what, but the hairs on my neck are up, and I'm starting to think this place doesn't want me here at all. Dawn's barely breaking, the fog still choking the air around my van. I'm Avery Quinn, parked near Devil's Punch Bowl in Otter Rock, Oregon, and I'm already in a bind. My surfboard's ready, but when I try starting the van to head to the beach, the engine sputters and dies. My heart sinks. I'm no gearhead, but I know a dead alternator when I hear it. Happened once in California, left me stranded for days. I check my phone, 10% battery, no signal. I forgot to charge it overnight, too distracted by that weird light in the fog. Now I'm stuck, low on food, with a half tank of water and a van that won't move. Perfect start to the day. I step outside. The fog's so thick I can barely see the trail to the punch bowl. The lot's still empty, but there's a fresh tire track in the dirt, not mine. My stomach twists. Someone was here, maybe while I slept. That hum I heard last night, the light, it's all adding up to something disturbing. I think about hiking to town for help, But Otter Rock's a couple miles away, and Nora's warning about small towns rings in my ears. The bartender in Newport already made me feel like an alien. What if this place is worse? Still, I can't sit here with a dead van. I dig through my supplies, a protein bar, some jerky, and a bruised apple. I was supposed to hit a store yesterday, but the waves were too good, and I blew it off. Dumb move. I grabbed my backpack, stuffing in the flashlight, multi-tool, and a water bottle. The surfboard stays, too bulky to carry. I lock the van, but it feels pointless. If someone wants in, they'll get in. The fog's like a blanket, muffling sound, and every step I take feels watched. I'm not paranoid, but that tire track's got me spooked, and the horror of being stranded is settling in. The trail to town's narrow, winding through cliffs and pines. I'm halfway there when I spot something carved into a tree, a crude symbol, like an eye with a slash through it. It's fresh, the sap still wet. My skin crawls. Could be kids, vandals, or something worse. I think about those stories online, cults, weird coastal rituals. I laugh it off, but it's shaky. The fog's playing tricks, making shapes in the mist, and I'm jumping at every rustle. I tell myself it's just a hike, but the scary thing is, I don't believe it. Hawkins. I reach Otter Rock, a cluster of weathered shops and houses by the sea. The town's quiet, too quiet, and the few people I see don't look happy. An old woman sweeping her porch glares at me, her eyes cold. I wave, trying to be friendly, but she turns away, muttering something I can't hear. My gut churns. This isn't just unfriendly, it's hostile, like I've trespassed. I spot a garage across the street, a flickering neon sign saying Marty's Auto. Relief hits, but it's short-lived. A guy steps out, wiping his hands on a rag, staring at me like I'm a pest. Lost, he says, his voice flat. I explain the van trouble, keeping it quick. His name's Marty, maybe 40, with a buzz cut and a tattoo of that same eye symbol on his forearm. My heart skips. Tow's gonna cost ya, he says, naming a price triple what it should be. I don't have much cash, but I nod, desperate. He says he'll check the van later, but his smirk says he's not in a rush. Another guy, younger, leans against a truck nearby, watching me, a crowbar in his hand. The air's thick with tension, and I'm starting to think this town's got more than just a grudge against outsiders. I head to a diner next door, hoping for food and a charger. The waitress, a woman with tired eyes, barely looks at me as she takes my order. You ain't from here, she says, not a question. I nod, mentioning Portland, but she just grunts. The guy with the crowbars followed me, sitting at the counter, still staring. My phone's dead now, and the diner's got no outlets. I eat my burger fast, the food tasteless, my nerves shot. The disturbing vibe's growing. Everyone's watching, like they're waiting for me to slip up. As I leave, I notice a bulletin board by the door. It's got flyers, but one catches my eye. A missing person notice, a hiker, last seen near the punch bowl. My throat tightens. The photo's blurry, but the guy looks like me. Young, scruffy, not local. I step outside, the fog colder now, and hear a low whistle from the garage. Marty's talking to crowbar guy, both glancing my way. My pulse races. I need to get back to the van, but something tells me they're not letting me leave easy. This isn't just a breakdown. It's a trap, and I'm already caught. The diner's door swings shut behind me, the fog swallowing Otter Rock's main street. I'm Avery Quinn, and I'm starting to regret ever parking near Devil's Punch Bowl. My van's dead, my phone's useless, and the way Marty and crowbar guy were eyeing me at the garage felt wrong. Disturbing, like I'm not just a customer, but a problem. I head back toward the trail, my stomach knotted. The missing hiker's flyer is burned into my brain, his face too much like mine. The fog's thicker now, and the town's too quiet, like it's holding its breath. I clutch my multi-tool, wishing I'd grabbed something heavier from the van. Halfway to the trail, I hear footsteps crunching behind me. I spin around, but the fog's a wall, hiding everything. Hello. I call, my voice shaky. No answer, just the echo of my own words. My heart's racing. I'm not imagining this. Someone's there. I walk faster, the trailhead looming ahead, but the footsteps match my pace. I think about that eye symbol, Marty's tattoo, the carved tree. It's not random. It's a mark, and I'm starting to think it's for people like me, outsiders who don't belong. The horror of it hits hard, and I break into a jog. The trail's a blur of pines and mist, but I don't slow down. My flashlight's in my backpack, but I don't stop to grab it, too exposed. I hear a low whistle, sharp and deliberate, from the trees. My blood runs cold. It's the same whistle I heard at the garage when Marty and Crowbar Guy were talking. They're following me, and this isn't a game. I think about Nora, her warning about weirdos. Should have listened. The scary thing is, I don't know why they're after me, but the hostility in their eyes said enough. I'm not welcome, and they're making it clear. I veer off the trail, hoping the forest will hide me. Branches snag my jacket, and I trip, scraping my hand on a rock. The pain's sharp, but I keep moving, crouching low. The whistle's fainter now, but I hear voices, low, angry, maybe 2 or 3 people. He's headed to the van, one says. It's Marty's voice, and it's close. My chest tightens. They know where I'm going, and if they reach the van first, I'm done. I think about the hiker, wondering if he ran like this, if he saw the same symbol before it ended. The thought's too disturbing to hold. I'm maybe a mile from the lot when I spot something through the fog. A rope, tied between 2 trees, low and taut. It's not natural. Someone set it, like a trap. My skin crawls. I step over it, heart pounding, and notice more carvings on the trees. Those slashed eyes, dozens of them, circling the path. This isn't just a chase. It's a ritual, and I'm the target. The horror's real now, suffocating, and I realize I've stumbled into something bigger than a broken van. These people don't just hate outsiders. They're organized, and they're hunting. I keep moving, staying off the trail, but the fog's disorienting. I'm not sure I'm even heading the right way. My hand's bleeding, dripping onto the leaves, and I curse myself for not bandaging it. Rookie mistake, leaving a trail. I hear a dog bark, sharp and close, and my stomach drops. They've got dogs now, and my scent's fresh. I think about my parents, probably calling my dead phone, clueless that I'm running for my life. The terrifying truth is, I might not make it back to Portland, and no one will know why. The lot's close. I smell the ocean, hear the punch bowl's waves. But as I break through the trees, I see flashlights bobbing near my van. 3 figures, maybe 4, circling it like vultures. One's got a crowbar, smashing the windows. Glass crunches, and my heart breaks. This is my home, and they're tearing it apart. I duck behind a stump, watching as Marty kicks the door open, laughing. City trash, he spits, and I realize this isn't random. It's personal, a lesson for people like me who dare to stop here. The disturbing part? They're enjoying it. I'm frozen, torn between running and fighting. My multi-tool's no match for them, and the dog's barking louder, sniffing the air. I spot another figure in the fog, holding something long, a rifle. My throat closes. This isn't just a beating. They're out for blood. I think about the rope, the carvings, the hiker. How many others have they done this to? The scary reality is, I'm not special, just the next name on a flyer no one will find. I need to move, but the flashlights are sweeping the lot, and I'm running out of cover. The dog's bark turns to a growl, and I hear it crash through the brush, heading my way. My pulse is deafening. I can't go back to the van, and the trail's a death trap. The ocean's my only shot, but it's a cliff drop to the beach, and I'm no climber. The figures are shouting now, spreading out, and I know they've got my trail. The horror's complete. I'm prey, and Otter Rock's their hunting ground. I grip the multi-tool, my hands shaking, and make a choice. I'm not dying here, not yet. But as I turn to run, a beam catches me, and Marty's voice cuts through the fog. There you are. Marty's voice cuts through the fog like a blade, his flashlight pinning me to the stump. I'm Avery Quinn, trapped near Devil's Punch Bowl, my van trashed, and a dog snarling somewhere in the dark. My heart's hammering so hard I can't think. I bolt, legs pumping, toward the cliff's edge, the ocean roaring below. The fog's my only cover, but it's not enough, Marty shouts, and boots thud behind me. The dog's growl is closer, and I hear its chain rattle. This isn't just a chase, it's a hunt, and I'm the prey. The horror of it fuels me, but my scraped hand's bleeding, slowing me down. I grip my multi-tool, knowing it's useless against a rifle. I veer into the trees, branches whipping my face. The cliff's too steep to climb down, and the trail's a trap. My only shot's the beach, but it's a drop I might not survive. I think about that hiker, the missing guy. Did he run like this, heart pounding, knowing it was over? The thought's disturbing, but I shove it aside. I trip, slamming my knee into a root, and bite back a yell. Pain shoots through me, but I scramble up. The dog's bark's louder now. Flashlights sweep the forest, and I hear Crowbar Guy curse. He's got to be close. My stomach lurches. They're fanned out, cutting off my routes. I find a narrow path, maybe a deer trail, and follow it, praying it leads somewhere safe. The fog's thicker here, but so's the terror. I'm leaving blood on the leaves, a trail they'll follow. I think about Nora, her flashlight in my glove box, useless now. Should have stayed in Portland, stuck to crowded campgrounds. A twig snaps behind me, and I freeze, crouching low. The dog's quiet, which is worse. Means it's tracking, not barking. I hear Marty's whistle again, sharp and mocking. The scary thing is, they're enjoying this, like I'm sport. I move again, faster, the path sloping toward the sea. The trail ends at a rocky outcrop, waves crashing below. I'm cornered, forest behind, cliff ahead. My knees throbbing, and I'm gasping, the cold air burning my lungs. I spot a crevice in the rocks, barely wide enough to squeeze into. It's a risk, but I'm out of options. I slip inside, the stones scraping my arms, and huddle in the dark. The dog's back, sniffing, its claws scratching nearby. My heart's in my throat. I think about my parents, probably asleep, clueless their son's hiding like a rat. The horror's suffocating. I'm not just running. I'm fighting to not end up like that hiker. The dog's nose brushes the crevice, and I stop breathing, clutching the multi-tool. It growls, low and vicious, but a shout pulls it away. Marty, yelling at someone to check the beach. I wait, trembling, until the sounds fade. My crevice is a tomb, damp and tight, but it's bought me time. I think about the ice symbols, the rope trap. This town's got a system, a way to deal with outsiders, and I've stumbled into it. The disturbing truth is, they've done this before, and they're good at it. I need to move, but my knee's swollen, and I'm not sure I can climb out. I wiggle free, wincing as my knee protests. The fog's still heavy, but the flashlights are gone, for now. I limp toward the cliff's edge, looking for a way down. There's a faint path, jagged and slippery, leading to the beach. It's a death wish, but staying here's worse. I start descending, rocks crumbling under my boots. Halfway down, I slip, grabbing a root to catch myself. My hand's bleeding worse, and I'm dizzy, but I keep going. The dog's bark echoes above, and I know they're circling back. The scary part? They're not rushed, they know this land, and I don't. I hit the beach, waves soaking my shoes. The fog's thinner here, and I see driftwood scattered like bones. I duck behind a pile, catching my breath. My knees screaming, and I'm shivering, soaked through. I think about the van, my home, now just a wreck. Those bastards took everything, but I'm still here, still fighting. A flashlight beam cuts the fog, maybe 100 yards off. They're on the beach now, spreading out. I hear the dog again, and something else, a low chant, rhythmic, like a prayer. My skin crawls. This isn't just a hunt. It's something darker, something wrong. I crawl along the sand, staying low, aiming for a cove I glimpsed earlier. If I can hide there, maybe I'll outlast them till dawn. My hand brushes something cold, a metal tag, half buried. I squint. It's a dog tag, name scratched out, blood crusted on it. My stomach heaves. Another victim, left to rot. The horror's overwhelming, but it pushes me forward. The chant's louder, and I see shadows moving. Not just flashlights, but torches, flickering like ghosts. They're closing in, and I'm running out of beach. I reach the cove, a narrow slit in the cliffs, and squeeze inside. It's shallow, barely cover, but it's all I've got. The chant's clear now, words I don't understand, guttural and old. My heart's pounding, and I'm praying they pass by. The dog's quiet again, which terrifies me. I grip the multi-tool, ready to swing if it comes to that. The torches are closer, their light dancing on the waves. I'm not just running from death, I'm running from something evil, and Otter rocks its home. But as I shift, my knee buckles, and a rock clatters, loud in the silence. The chant stops, and I know they've heard me. The rock's clatter echoes in the cove, and the silence that follows is worse than any scream. I'm Avery Quinn, wedged in this Otter rock crevice, my knee shot and my hand bleeding. The torches flicker closer, and Marty's voice rings out, calm but vicious. Gotcha now. My heart stops. I made a mistake, a stupid, fatal one, and they're on me. The dog's growl is back, inches from the cove's mouth, and I smell its wet fur. I clutch the multi-tool, but it's a joke against these people, their rifles, their hate. The horror's complete. I'm not just an outsider. I'm a sacrifice, and this town's been waiting for me. I try to shift deeper into the cove, but it's too shallow and my knees locked up. The torches are at the entrance now, 5, maybe 6 figures, their faces hidden in shadow. The chant starts again, low and rhythmic, and I see that symbol painted on the rocks, glowing in the firelight. My stomach twists. This isn't just a grudge, it's a cult, and I've walked into their ritual. I think about the dog tag, the hiker, the carvings. How many others ended here, in this cove, with no one to know? The disturbing truth is, I'm next, and no one's coming to save me. The dog lunges, teeth snapping, and I swing the multi-tool, catching its snout. It yelps, but the men laugh, like it's part of the fun. Crowbar guy steps forward, his weapon gleaming, and I see Marty behind him, holding a knife, not a rifle. Should have stayed in Portland, he says, and the others murmur, like it's a prayer. I'm shaking, my back against the rock, nowhere to go. I think about Nora, her flashlight, my parents' worried texts. I'm sorry, I whisper, knowing they'll never hear it. The scary thing is, I thought I could outrun this, but Otter Rock's got me, and it's not letting go. I swing again, desperate, but Crowbar guy grabs my wrist, twisting until the multi-tool drops. Pain shoots through me, and I scream, but the waves drown it out. They drag me from the cove, my knee buckling, and throw me onto the sand. The torches circle me, and I see their faces now, men, women, even a kid, all with that same cold stare. The chant's louder, and Marty raises his knife, the blade etched with that eye. The horror's unbearable. I'm not just dying. I'm being erased, a lesson for the next fool who parks too close. They tie my hands with rope, the same kind I saw in the forest, and force me to my knees. The kid steps forward, holding a torch, his eyes empty. You don't belong, he says, and the others nod, like it's gospel. I think about my van, my surfboard, the life I loved. It's gone, stolen by these monsters who hate anyone not born here. I try to speak, to beg, but my throat's dry, and Marty's knife is at my neck. The disturbing part? They're calm, like this is routine, like I'm just another Tuesday. The knife bites my skin, a thin line of blood trickling. I close my eyes, picturing Portland, the waves, my family. I made a mistake, thinking I could wander free, that places like this would let me pass. The chant peaks, and I hear the dogs snarl, eager. I'm ready for the end, but they stop, turning toward the cliffs. A new light cuts the fog, not a torch, but headlights. A car, maybe a ranger, someone who doesn't know what's coming. Hope sparks, but it's too late for me. Marty hesitates, and I seize the moment, kicking at his leg. I break free, stumbling toward the water, my hands still tied. The waves are cold, pulling me under, but I swim, desperate, the headlights my only guide. Shots ring out, bullets splashing nearby. The dogs on the shore, barking, and the torches are moving, chasing. My knees useless, and I'm drowning, the rope dragging me down. The horror's final. I'm not escaping, not really. The headlights fade, either gone or never real. I think about that hiker, his face like mine, and know I'm joining him, lost to Otter Rock's hate. The current takes me, my strength gone. The chants are distant now, swallowed by the sea. I'm sorry, Nora, Mom, Dad. I was just a surfer, chasing waves, and I picked the wrong town. The tragedy's complete. My mistake was believing I could belong anywhere, when places like this eat outsiders alive. The water's cold, closing over me, and the last thing I see is that symbol, burned into my mind, as the ocean claims another stranger. My body sinks, the waves uncaring, and Otter Rock's secret stays safe. Avery Quinn's gone, another name for a flyer no one will read, another warning ignored. The fog rolls on, hiding the truth, and the town waits for its next guest, ready to teach them what happens when you don't belong. The stars are sharp tonight, cutting through the dark over Otter Rock, Oregon. I'm parked in a gravel turnout near Cape Foulweather, my van's engine still ticking as it cools. My name's Juniper Lee, I'm 31 years old, and I call Boise, Idaho, home when I'm not living out of this rusty Dodge camper. The van's a mess, leaky skylight, a mattress that smells like thrift stores, but it's mine. I'm here for the cliffs, chasing sketches for my art blog. The ocean's out there, a low growl in the distance, but it's the quiet that's got me on edge. I'm sipping instant coffee, my sketch pad open, when I notice my lantern flickering like the battery's dying early. I step outside, the gravel crunching under my boots. The turnout's empty, just me and the van, with the Cape's trails winding into the dark. I'd heard about Otter Rock, small, cliquey, not fond of drifters like me. Doesn't bother me much. I'm used to keeping my head down. But as I check the lantern, I spot a glow through the trees, maybe a half-mile off. Not a house, too low for that. A campfire? It's steady, unnatural, and it makes my skin prickle. I laugh it off, blaming the spooky folklore I read about these coastal towns. Still, I lock the doors before heading back inside. Vanlife's my rebellion against Boise's strip malls and desk jobs. Out here, it's just me, my pencils, and the road. But there's a price. You're alone, and some places don't take kindly to strangers. I think about my stop in Tillamook, where a gas station clerk stared when I bought snacks. "You staying long?" he asked, like it was a test. I said no, just passing through, but his frown stuck with me. Locals here don't vibe with nomads, and I'm as nomadic as it gets. Tonight, though, it's just a quick stop, a sketch of the Cape, then I'm gone. My brother, Theo, texted before I left Boise, half teasing about me getting lost in the woods. "Don't mess with weird towns," he said, tossing me a pocket knife. It's in my glove box now, next to a flashlight I rarely use. I'm not spooked, not really. I've camped in sketchier spots, like that ghost town in Nevada where the wind howled all night. The glow's still bugging me though. I consider driving closer to check it out, but the roads are narrow, and I'm not that reckless. I settle back in, sketching the cliffs from memory, but the lantern flickers again, and it's not the battery. The van's cozy, with fairy lights and a quilt from my mom, but every sound's amplified. A branch taps the roof, and I flinch, imagining someone out there. I tell myself it's nothing, just the wind, but my heart's not buying it. I think about my followers, mostly artists who love my coastal drawings. They'd eat up a sketch of this place, all rugged and wild. But tonight, the vibe's off, like the Cape's watching me. I laugh, listen to me, acting like some horror flick character. It's just a night, just a stop. I check my phone. Full bars, for once, but no new messages. I text Theo a quick, all good, mostly to calm myself. The ocean's louder now, waves slamming the rocks, and it should be soothing, but it's not. I think about my parents, probably playing cards in Boise, worrying about their wandering kid. "Be careful," Dad always says. I promised I would, but careful feels flimsy out here, alone, with that glow still nagging at me. I double-check the locks, a habit from my early van days, when every noise was a serial killer in my head. The sketchpad's open, but I can't focus. Every line feels wrong, like the Cape's rejecting me. I set it down and peek through the curtain. The glow's still there, fainter now, or maybe my eyes are tired. Could be locals, a late-night party, but it doesn't feel right. The disturbing part is how still it is, like it's waiting. I grab my pocket knife, just to feel tougher, and try to relax. I've got a plan. Sketch at dawn, maybe hike, then hit the road. Simple. But as I lie back, the van creaks, and I swear I hear a whisper, low and garbled, outside. I sit up, knife in hand, listening hard. Nothing. Just the waves and my own breathing. I'm jumping at shadows, I know, but the horror of being out here, cut off, is creeping in. I think about driving to a new spot, somewhere with people, but the glow's got me curious, sexually. I'm not that stupid. I stay put, telling myself it's fine. I've parked in worse places, deserts, mountains, even a sketchy lot in Reno. Nothing's ever happened. But as I pull my quilt tight, the whisper's back, clearer now, and it's not the wind. It's a voice, and it knows my name. Sleep's a lost cause, so I sit there, knife on my lap, staring at the curtain. The stars are gone, clouds rolling in, and the air's heavy, like a storm's brewing. I'm just a girl in a van, chasing art, but Otter Rock feels alive, and not in a good way. Something's out there, and it's not just my imagination. The glow, the whisper, it's all wrong, and I'm starting to think I picked the worst place to park. Morning creeps in, gray and heavy. The sky over Cape Foulweather's spitting drizzle. I'm Juniper Lee, still parked in this gravel turnout near Otter Rock, and I'm already cursing my luck. My van's skylight leaked all night, soaking my sketch pad. Hours of work ruined. I try starting the engine to move somewhere drier, but it chokes, a grinding noise that makes my stomach drop. Alternator shot, I bet. Happened once in Utah, cost me a week's budget. My phone's at 20%, no signal, and I'm low on food. Just a bag of almonds and a soggy granola bar. That whisper last night, the glow, it's all got me rattled, and now I'm stuck. I step outside, the air damp and sharp with salt. The turnout's deserted, but I spot footprints in the gravel, fresh, not mine. Big boots, circling my van. My heart skips. Someone was here, maybe when I was trying to sleep. The glow's gone, but those prints are real, and they're disturbing. I think about hiking to Otter Rock for a mechanic, but Theo's warning about weird towns echoes. The clerk in Tillamook already gave me the stink eye. What if this place is meaner? Still, I can't stay here with a dead van and no food. I grab my backpack, flashlight, pocket knife, almonds, and lock up, though it feels pointless. The trail to town's muddy, winding through gnarled pines. I'm halfway there when I see a scrap of cloth snagged on a branch, red flannel, torn and fresh. My skin prickles. Could be a hiker's, but it feels wrong, like a warning. I think about those online stories, missing campers, strange coastal cults. I shake it off, but the forest's too quiet, no birds, just my boots squelching. The scary part is, I'm not sure if I'm imagining the threat or if it's real. Those footprints, the whisper calling my name, it's all adding up, and I'm not liking the math. I reach the highway, but it's empty, just fog and asphalt. I start walking toward Otter Rock, my backpack heavy, the drizzle soaking my hoodie. A truck rumbles by, slowing as it passes. The driver, an older guy with a gray beard, stares at me, eyes hard. I nod, trying to seem chill, but he doesn't nod back. The truck speeds off, leaving me rattled. That look wasn't curiosity, it was hate, like I'd already crossed a line. The horror of being out here, alone, with no one to call, is sinking in. I'm not just stranded, I'm exposed. Otter Rock's in sight, a huddle of salt-worn buildings by the sea. I spot a garage, Coast Repairs, with a tow truck out front. Relief hits, but it's shaky. As I cross the street, a woman on a bench watches me, her face blank, but her eyes sharp. I smile, but she doesn't blink, just keeps staring. It's not just unfriendly, it's creepy, like she's sizing me up. I push into the garage, the bell jangling too loud. A guy behind the counter, maybe 30, with a scar on his cheek, looks up. "Help you," he says, but his tone says I'm not welcome. I explain the van, keeping it short. His name's Cal, and he says he can tow it, but not till tomorrow, and the price is steep. I'm low on cash, but I agree, desperate. He's got a tattoo on his hand, a circle with a slash through it, like an eye. My gut twists. I saw that symbol carved on a tree near the turnout. It's not a coincidence, and it's disturbing. Another guy, older, with a limp, hangs by the door, watching me, a wrench in his hand. The air's thick, and I'm starting to think this town's got more than just a chip on its shoulder. I head to a market nearby, hoping for food and a charger. The cashier, a woman with gray hair, barely speaks as I buy a sandwich and some batteries. "You camping?" she asks, her voice flat. I nod, mentioning the Cape, but her eyes narrow. "Folks don't take kindly to strangers up there," she says, and it's not advice, it's a warning. The guy with the limp's outside now, leaning on a pole, still watching. My pulse picks up. The scary thing is, I don't know what I've done to earn this hate, but it's real, and it's everywhere. Back on the street, I notice a bulletin board by the market. It's got flyers, fish sales, church events, but one stands out. A missing person, a woman, last seen near Cape Foulweather. My throat tightens. She's my age, dark hair like mine, a backpacker. The flyer's faded, like no one cares. I think about the flannel, the footprints. My hands shake as I shove the sandwich in my bag. Cal's watching from the garage, talking to Limpy, both glancing my way. The horror's growing. This isn't just a bad vibe. It's a trap, and I'm already in it. I start back toward the van, needing to grab my sketchbook before they tow it. The trail feels darker now, the drizzle heavier. I hear a low hum, like last night, coming from the woods. My heart's racing. It's not an engine. It's human, a chant maybe, faint but deliberate. I tell myself it's nothing, but I'm lying. Those prints, the symbol, the flyer, they're pieces of something awful, and I'm caught in the middle. I pick up my pace, the hum following me, and I know I've made a mistake staying in Otter Rock. The trail back to my van is a muddy slog, the drizzle turning to rain. I'm Juniper Lee, and I'm starting to think Otter Rock was a terrible idea. That hum from the woods is louder now, a low chant that's definitely human, and it's freaking me out. The missing woman's flyer, the flannel scrap, Cal's tattoo. They're all screaming danger, but I need my sketchbook before the tow. My phone's dead, my van's broken, and the footprints around it are burned into my brain. As I push through the pines, I hear a snap behind me, sharp and close. My heart jumps. I spin around, pocket knife out, but it's just fog and trees. Still, the horror's real. Someone's out there, and they're not friendly. I move faster, the chant growing. Words I can't make out, but feel wrong. The trail's familiar, but the vibe's off, like the forest's turned against me. I spot another slashed eye symbol carved into a tree, fresh and deep. My stomach churns. It's the same as Cal's tattoo, and there's no way it's random. I think about Theo, joking about weird towns. Should have listened. The scary thing is, I'm not just lost. I'm marked, and these locals know it. I hear footsteps now, heavy, matching my pace. I don't look back, just run, my boots slipping, the turnout so close but so far. The gravel lot's in sight, my van a lone shadow in the rain. But there's a truck parked next to it, old and rusted, not Cal's tow. My blood runs cold. I duck behind a tree, watching. Two guys are at my van, one with a crowbar, prying the door. It's Limpy from the garage, and the other's got a flashlight, scanning the woods. She's close, Limpy says, his voice low. She, me, they know my name, my van, and they're here for me. The horror hits like a wave. This isn't a robbery, it's a hunt, and I'm the target. I crouch lower, my knife shaking in my hand. The flashlight guy's Cal, and he's got a rope coiled over his shoulder, like he's planning to tie something or someone. My mind races to the missing woman, the flannel. Did they get her like this, cornered and alone? The thought's too disturbing, but it keeps me sharp. I need to get away, but the van's my only shelter, and they're tearing it apart. Glass shatters as Limpy smashes a window, laughing, a sound that makes my skin crawl. These aren't just angry locals. They're predators, and Otter Rock's their trap. I back away, staying in the trees, but a branch snaps under my boot. Cal's head whips around, his flashlight cutting through the fog. Juniper, he calls, mocking, like we're playing a game. My heart stops. How do they know my name? Maybe they saw my sketchbook, my blog stickers on the van. I'm frozen, torn between running and hiding. The chant's louder, coming from deeper in the woods, more voices now. It's not just Cal and Limpy. There's a group, and they're closing in. The terrifying truth is, this town's got a system, and I'm caught in it. I bolt, weaving through the pines, away from the lot. The trail's too open, so I stick to the forest, branches clawing my face. My backpack's heavy, slowing me, and my hands bleeding from a cut I didn't notice. I hear a dog bark, sharp and vicious, and my stomach drops. They've got dogs, and my blood's a beacon. I think about my parents, probably eating breakfast in Boise, clueless their daughter's running for her life. The horror's suffocating. I'm not just in trouble, I'm in a nightmare, and these people want me gone, one way or another. I'm maybe a mile from the cape when I see a snare, a wire loop hidden in the leaves. My breath catches. It's deliberate, meant to catch something human-sized. I step over it, heart pounding, and notice more symbols carved around me, a circle of slashed eyes. This isn't random vandalism. It's a ritual, and I'm the offering. The chant's closer, and I hear the dog again, crashing through the brush. I think about my sketchbook, my art, the life I thought I'd live. It feels so far away, stolen by this town's hate for outsiders like me. I keep moving, but the forest's a maze, and I'm disoriented. The rain's heavier, masking sounds, but I feel eyes on me, that same watch sensation from last night. I stumble into a clearing and see a pile of rocks, stacked like a cairn, with a bone tied to it. Human, maybe a finger. My stomach heaves. This is where they bring people, where they end them. The disturbing reality is, I'm not the first, and they're not stopping. The dog's bark is right behind me, and I run, blind, toward the cliffs, praying for a way out. The ocean's roar is louder, the cape's edge near. I'm out of the trees, but I hear shouts now, human voices mixing with the chant. Flashlights bob in the fog, and the dog snarling, so close I feel its breath. I'm cornered, the cliffs ahead, the hunters behind. My knife's all I've got, but it's nothing against them. The horror's complete. I'm prey, and Otter Rock's their killing ground. I scan for a path, a cave, anything, but the beams are closing in, and Cal's voice cuts through the rain. No running now, girl. I'm out of time, and they're here. Cal's voice slices through the rain, his flashlight pinning me near the cliffs of Cape Foulweather. I'm Juniper Lee, heart pounding. The dog snarl so close I can smell its breath. I bolt toward the ocean's edge, my boots slipping on wet rock, the chants and shouts closing in. My van's trashed, my sketchbook's gone, and these locals aren't just mad. They're hunting me like an animal. The horror's choking, but I grip my pocket knife, useless as it is, and weave through the fog. My bleeding hands leaving a trail, and the dog's chain rattles behind me. I'm not just running. I'm fighting for my life, and Otter rocks out for blood. I dive into a gully, thorns tearing my jeans. The cliffs are a death trap, but the forest's worse. They know it better than me. I think about that bone cairn, the missing woman. Was she caught like this, trapped by those slashed eye symbols? The thought's disturbing, but it keeps me moving. I trip, my knee slamming into a stone, and I stifle a scream. Pain's a fire, but I crawl forward. The dog's barks louder, joined by another. 2 dogs now, and they've got my scent. Cal yells, she's headed for the drop. My stomach lurches, they're hurting me, and I'm running out of ground. The gully narrows, forcing me toward a ledge overlooking the sea. Waves crash below, a good 50-foot drop. I'm cornered, but I spot a crevice in the cliff, barely wide enough for me. I squeeze in, rocks scraping my arms, my breath ragged. The dogs are at the gully's mouth, snarling, but they can't fit. My heart's deafening, and I'm shaking, the knife slippery in my sweaty hand. I think about Theo, his pocket knife, now my only defense. The scary thing is, these people aren't rushed. They're savoring this, like I'm prey in some twisted game. I wait, rain dripping into my eyes, the chants echoing above. The dog's quiet, but boots crunch nearby. Limpy, maybe, or Cal. Come out. Juniper. Limpy calls, his voice mocking. My blood freezes. They're toying with me, and the horror's sinking in. They've done this before. To her, to others. I check my backpack, flashlight's there, but the almonds are gone, spilled in my run. My knees swelling, and I'm dizzy, blood loss or fear, I can't tell. The crevice is safe for now, but it's a trap. I can't stay, and climbing out means facing them. I hear a new sound, a low hum, like the chant but mechanical. A drone? My skin crawls. They're using tech to track me, and I'm leaving blood everywhere. I rip my sleeve, tying it around my hand to slow the bleeding, but it's sloppy. I think about my parents, probably calling my dead phone, clueless I'm hiding in a cliff. The disturbing truth is, I'm not outsmarting these people. They're locals, this is their turf, and I'm just a tourist who parked wrong. I need to move, but the dogs are back, sniffing closer. I slip out, wincing as my knee protests, and edge along the ledge. The fog's my ally, hiding me, but it's thinning. I spot a path, steep and crumbling, leading to the beach. It's a risk, but staying suicide. I start down, rocks sliding under me, my hands clawing at roots. Halfway, I slip, dangling by a vine, my knife falling into the dark. My heart sinks. I'm defenseless now. The dogs are above, and a flashlight sweeps the cliff. There! Cal shouts. Shots ring out, bullets pinging the rocks. The horror's real. I'm not just running, I'm dodging death. I hit the beach, waves soaking me, and stumble toward a pile of driftwood. My knees screaming, and I'm gasping, the cold biting deep. The flashlights are on the path now, descending fast. I think about my art, my blog, the sketches I'll never finish. These bastards took my life, my van, and now they want my blood. The chants are back, louder, mixed with laughter. The scary thing? They're not just hunting, they're celebrating. I crawl behind the driftwood, praying they miss me, but the dogs' barks are close, and I'm out of tricks. The beach is open, nowhere to hide but a rocky cove ahead. I limp toward it, my vision blurring. I'm leaving blood again, a trail they'll follow. I find a seashell, sharp-edged, and grip it like a blade, my last stand. The flashlights spread out, and I hear Limpy's voice. She's done. My chest tightens. They're right. I'm exhausted, injured, and alone. But I'm not giving up. The cove's close, a dark slit in the rocks. If I can reach it, maybe I'll buy time. But as I move, a dog bursts from the fog, teeth bared, and I swing the shell, knowing it's not enough. The dog yelps, but another's behind it, and the men are here, torches flickering. I'm at the cove's mouth, but it's shallow, no real cover. The chants are deafening, and I see Cal, crowbar in hand, his face twisted with glee. The horror's complete. I'm trapped, and Otter rocks one. I back into the cove, the shell my only weapon, and scream, "Leave me alone." It's pointless, but it's all I've got. The dogs circle, and Cal steps closer, his shadow swallowing me. I'm out of time, and they're not stopping. The cove's walls close in, cold and slick, as Cal's shadow looms at the entrance. I'm Juniper Lee, clutching a seashell, my knee useless and my hand bleeding. The dogs snarl, held back by Limpy's whistle, but their eyes are locked on me. The chants are a roar now, a crowd of voices, men, women, maybe more, all part of this sick ritual. The slashed eye symbols are carved here too, glowing in the torchlight. The horror's unbearable. I'm not just a stranger, I'm a sacrifice, and Otter Rock's been waiting for me. My mistake was parking here, thinking I could sketch and leave. Now I'm their prey, and they're ready to finish it. Cal raises his crowbar, smirking. "Should have stayed in Boise," he says, and the others laugh, a sound that curdles my blood. I swing the shell, aiming for his face, but he dodges, grabbing my wrist. Pain explodes as he twists, the shell dropping. I kick, hitting his shin, but Limpy's there, pinning my arms. I scream, but the waves drown it, and the chants swallow the rest. I think about the missing woman, the bone cairn. Was she here, in this cove, begging like me? The disturbing truth is, I'm next, and no one will find me. They drag me onto the beach, my knee buckling, and force me to my knees. The crowd's bigger, 10, maybe 12 people, faces blank, but eyes burning. A woman steps forward, older, holding a knife etched with that eye symbol. "You don't belong," she says, like it's law. I think about Theo, his pocket knife, now lost. "I'm sorry," I whisper, to him, to my parents, to myself. The scary thing is, they're calm, like this is routine, like I'm just another mark on their tally. The knife glints, and I know it's over. My art, my van, my life, all gone. The woman raises the knife, but a shout stops her, a new voice, sharp, from the cliffs. "Hey," it calls, and headlights flash through the fog. Maybe a ranger, a camper. Hope spikes, but it's weak. The crowd freezes, and Cal curses, scanning the dark. I seize the chance, twisting free, and stumble toward the water, my hand still pinned by rope. The dogs lunge, but the headlights spook them, and they scatter. I dive into the waves, the cold shocking my lungs. Shots ring out, bullets splashing, but I swim, the light's my only guide, knowing it's a long shot. The current's strong, pulling me under. My knees dead weight, and the rope's dragging me down. The headlights fade, either gone or never real. I think about my sketches, my followers, the cliffs I'll never draw. The horror's final. I'm not escaping, not really. The chants are distant, but the dogs are on the shore, barking, and I know they'll wait. My hand brushes something in the water, a shoe, floating, tied to a weight. Another victim, maybe her, the woman from the flyer. My stomach heaves, but I'm too weak to care. I'm joining her, lost to this town's hate. I'm sinking, the ocean closing over me. The cold's numbing, but the pain's still there, my knee, my hand, my heart. I made a mistake, thinking I could wander free. That places like Otter Rock would let me pass. The tragedy's complete. I was just an artist, chasing beauty, and I found death instead. The waves are my grave, and the chants are my elegy. I'm sorry, Mom, Dad, Theo. I should have stayed home, stuck to Boise's safe streets. The water's dark, and I'm gone, another stranger erased by Otter Rock's wrath. My body drifts, the current uncaring, and the town's secret stays buried. Juniper Lee's no more, another flyer no one will see, another warning ignored. The rain keeps falling, washing my blood from the beach, and the crowd disperses, their ritual done. The headlights were nothing, a trick of the fog, and no one's coming. The horror's over for me, but not for the next outsider who parks too close, unaware of the eyes watching, waiting. The ocean claims me, silent and vast, my sketches lost to the rain, my van a ruin. Otter Rock stands quiet, its cliffs hiding the truth, its people ready for the next guest. I'm a ghost now, a whisper in the waves, and the town's won, its hate stronger than my dreams. The tragedy's final, and the world moves on, blind to the blood on Cape Foulweather's rocks. The fog rolls in, thick and eternal, and Otter Rock waits, patient, for the next van, the next stranger, the next sacrifice. My story's done, but theirs isn't, and the slashed eye symbols watch, carved into the dark, promising more horror for those who don't belong.